Hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly ZBA meeting, the City of Greenfield, the Zoning Board of Appeals, City Hall, second floor meeting room, 14 Port Square, Greenfield, Massachusetts. The chair's statement. This meeting is being recorded by the Zoning Board of Appeals. If any other persons present are recording the meeting, you must notify me at this time. Anyone else recording the meeting? Thank you. In accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, subsection 20G, no person shall address a meeting of a public body without permission of the chair, and all persons shall, at the request of the chair, be silent. No person shall disrupt the proceedings of a meeting of a public body. If after clear warning from the chair, a person continues to disrupt the proceedings, the chair may order the person to withdraw from the meeting. And if the person does not withdraw, the chair may authorize a constable or other officer to remove the person from the meeting. Hope that. Not a problem for us. Okay, so the members present tonight are
Eric Green, Charles Roberts, Mark Maloney.
and David Singer. Just so the two applicants know, we normally sit with a group of 5, which means that one person can vote no to what it is you're asking us to do. So it takes 4 yes votes for you to get your permit approved. Now, tonight, we're only going to have 4 members. That means you have to get everyone to approve it. So I'm telling you right now that that's the case. I'm not telling you that there'll be a problem, but you have the right, if you wish, to continue the meeting till the next month when I believe we will have 5 members. So that's something for you to consider. Okay. Mark Maloney's going to be clerk pro temp tonight. Mark, if you could read the first hearing, which should have been at 6:30 p.m., but it's now going to start at 6:37 p.m.
This is the application of Greener Side Holdings LLC, care of Rich Ferreira, for property located at 180 Laurel Street, Assessors Map R41, lots 2 and 2F, which is located in the General Industrial Zoning District for a special permit pursuant to sections 204.11 C16, 207.17, 208.3, and 208.4 of the zoning ordinance in order to allow for the construction of an indoor marijuana cultivation facility with accessory retail.
And sitting on this panel are
Eric Green, Charles Roberts, Mark Maloney,
and David Singer. Is someone here representing the applicant?
Yes, on Zoom, this is Attorney Quinn Heath from Cable Fleischer and Soseby for Greener Side Holdings, the applicant.
And do you have something that you want to ask us?
Yes, we are respectfully asking that the board allow us to withdraw the application without prejudice with the intent to resubmit with additional site plans, as well as in the form of a request to amend the existing permit rather than a new permit due to legal technicalities.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay. Can I hear a motion to allow, a clear motion to allow what he's requesting?
I'll move that.
All right, so you're moving what he asked us to do?
Yes.
Okay, I hear a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show it was unanimous.
Thank you to the board.
Okay. Now we have to wait 1 minute. The reason we wait is because, for those who are used to this here, is that we post the meetings at a certain time so that it wouldn't be fair to someone who saw the posting, and we got done with the first hearing early and then we started the second hearing before the people came at the appointed time. So it's not fair for us to do that for your event. So we will wait that 1 minute.
That what I wanted first.
6:40.
Ask you a question about this. I have some slides to go back to the next one.
Yes.
Do I just log in? I mean, I'm on BGG.
Why don't you
BGG laptop?
ask Ella that question?
Okay.
You want to present?
Yeah, just a technical question. I'm already logged in. Would I just present, like share my screen?
Yeah, I can make you a co-host to do
Okay.
that.
Clerk Pro Temp Maloney, can you please read the application of our second hearing, our 640 here?
Actually, before we do that, I'd just like to make a quick statement that my firm does a lot of work with Berkshire Design Group. There's no conflict of interest. I will be able to speak impartially and fairly on the matter, but I just feel like I need to get that on the table. So if there's any objections,
people have a chance to say so.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. Application of DVR Greenfield LLC for property located at 125 Mohawk Trail, Assessors Map 46, Lot 21, which is located in the General Commercial Zoning District for a special permit pursuant to 200.6.5 and 208.3 of the zoning ordinance in order to allow for parking in the front yard.
And the panel consists of
Eric Green, Charles Roberts,
Mark Maloney.
David Singer. Okay, who's here for the applicant?
I am gonna do a quick presentation.
Can you come forward? Yeah, please. And state your, who you are, representative for the record, please.
Okay, great. So my name is Chris Baker. I'm here with Berkshire Design Group, representing the owner. Also have a traffic engineer here as well, Sean, who will come up for a portion of the presentation. So the applicant is DVR Greenfield, and as you stated, the location is 125 Mohawk Trail. I'm gonna go through a few slides just to kind of go over general overview of the project. So this particular project, this is the existing conditions today. There was a hotel previously on the site that was demolished. And this parcel was the subject of a previous application that was approved in 2018. And that was for a 4-story hotel, drive-through bank, and a drive-through restaurant. So it's a different proposal than this, but just so you know, this was the subject.
What you're showing us now, is that?
That is the former hotel.
Right, the one that was on the site before.
Okay,
Just so that people who are at
Yep.
home can see
Yep.
that. Yeah, that was the Howard Johnson site. Okay,
Yeah, so
thank
the
you.
pool is that gray spot right in the center.
And
the
what's the-
hotel building is
And the black spot at the more of the top, that was also a building?
It's a good question. I'm actually not sure what that was.
And then the gray areas are what?
The gray areas are impervious areas
I see.
that were on the site previously, so the pool and the parking areas around.
Okay, thank you.
This figure depicts something that will come up later, which are the DOT drainage easements. So the one on the northern side of the lot, that's for a 12-inch pipe that's running across the lot. And then the one on the south that's running diagonal is a larger easement, because that's for a 60-inch culvert that's running across the site. Here's just some general photos of the site as it exists today, kind of showing how it's formerly demolished. So there's altered, areas on the site, and then just the roadways adjacent to the site, showing Minor Street. So here is the previous site plan that was approved. So this was for a 4-story hotel, similar number of rooms, but just a different layout. And obviously this project, didn't happen, and the permit since expired. Well, in this one, you can see building A in the south. I think that this is something that will come up, during our discussions, I think, as well. But building A is closer to the road. The easement that I was discussing is shown in the dashed lines running diagonally. However, the culvert that was actually installed, the 5-foot culvert, was installed in a different location than the easement. So we're working with DOT to change that easement, and it makes the developable area in that corner worse. So, we'll go over that a little bit more.
Can I just ask my
Yeah.
point? So in this particular scheme, there's an egress out on the Minor Street, right? Ingress and egress?
There is, in this one as well. You can see, this is the proposed plan up on the north. They had a secondary exit. They had two.
There were 3 egresses, one on 2A and 2 on Minor Street.
Correct.
And the hotel that was approved is closer to 2A than the building that you're proposing.
That's correct. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to so this is the proposed site plan.
Yeah.
So the restaurant is in the front and the proposed hotel is in the rear of the site. And there's only one entrance from Minor Street.
Thank you.
Yeah. So like I was saying, so this is for a 3-story hotel, 92 rooms, and then a restaurant. And you can see there is a lot of parking on the site, and that is due to the requirements of the tenant for the restaurant. They just require for development, that's their own internal policy, that they require a certain number of parking spots. So it's more than is required by zoning. But for this development scheme, it's.
You know how many more it is?
I don't have anybody.
Well, it's, the restaurant was like, it's many more seats than the restaurant actually has. I don't know the exact numbers, but
Or will we require versus what they're
Yeah,
asking? That's my question.
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Let me see if I can get back to it. It might be in the front list. First of all, yeah. Okay, yeah, there's the differential between the required is 171 and 36.
71. Thanks.
Yeah. Right, this is just a slide to give you, a general overview of the rendering of the site with the landscaping. So there are a lot of trees proposed to try and give a buffer around the site. There's also a 6-foot high fence to provide that screening. But it is, I believe the requirement's 10%, vegetated. We have 36%, so it's, really trying to make it a nice site with a lot of tree canopy and coverage there.
Where's that 10-foot fence located? Please, I didn't click with it.
This is a 6-foot fence around the perimeter.
Where
In
are
the back. I don't.
Is it the, okay,
Yeah,
so
it'll
is it the
be-
westerly side on Minor Street where the fence would be? Is it in the back?
It'd be in the back. Yeah. I guess
There
it'd be-
is a plan that has it, in the full deck. It was, from my review, it's along the whole northern portion, including what's facing west off of Minor, like the whole zigzag.
Yes, for the abutting property.
All along the abutting properties, but not along the street.
Correct.
And the vegetation in front is trees, not bushes, not short vegetation, it's tall vegetation on 2A.
Yeah, so those are trees. I don't know what is in the understory. Let me see. I do have yeah, so those are just trees and then. Yeah. Yeah, I do think there are some understory, but it's not gonna be shrub. They're just small, probably well, yeah, like just
Ground cover.
ground cover type stuff, yeah.
How tall?
Don't. I would think just a matter of a few feet though. 'Cause you don't want it to compete with the canopy.
You don't want to block eyesight.
I don't believe there are any trees here. Like these big circles are the trees.
Yeah, the large circles are the trees.
Right, but there's no under canvas there.
I
He's
just
saying,
the
okay.
proponent for the details. Yeah, those are labeled the species.
Yeah.
We're all surprising them.
I guess I'll just put it out there. Would they be able to block headlights? People parking in the headlights shining out onto 2A, would they be tall?
I don't know what variety these are. Is that something that I mean, we can switch in and out, whatever.
Well, that's the reason for my question.
Yeah, so if you would like that, that's certainly something I can bring back to the landscaper to have done if it isn't already something that would be that high, but that would be something you would want.
Well, I'm just asking, I'm the only one asking now. There may be others who don't agree with that, but that's just the beginning of, the reason I'm asking, I just want to let you know why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, that's a detail that would be very easy
To do that.
add. Like,
David, your concern is that the lights will be shining out onto
2A.
Main Street at 2A and
Right, so I'm driving along at night, I'm distracted
you're
by the
distracted
headlights,
by the
somebody has the
headlights.
lights on maybe because they forgot, there's lights coming in and people get distracted by that.
Yeah.
Because it's encouraging people to park facing the way.
That makes sense. Okay, this doesn't seem to want to fully load, maybe it'll load in a second, but this is the depiction of the amount of light that's being cast on the site, and I do wish this was loading because there is, is it the fixture? But there are, oh, there they are. Okay, there's a depiction of the fixtures that have been chosen for the site. So the previous application, the previous permit from 2018, I believe the average on-site foot candle was about 5. And we've reduced that way down to 0.79. And there is a max in the center of the site of 7.5, but we're trying to get a little bit of a lower light to have less overall impact of the average light across the whole site.
2.75,
0.79.
0.79.
Yeah. And the fixtures themselves are obviously the light is getting pointed down, so it's not being cast, and it's only a 14-foot posts. So we're trying to keep the light, on the site and minimize everything for dark skies and the abutting properties.
Just for a point of fact, the 2018 special permit decision required that the average light intensity within the parking lot was 3.61 foot candle.
3.61. Okay. So this is much less than that on an average. So so this figure is going over some of the abutting properties and their distance to the hotel. So the yellow there does show the privacy fence, and some of the photos show the trees that are currently, in between where the hotel would be and where the properties are. The previous plan, I think it was a kitty corner to that rear property, where it has 140 feet now. In the previous building was south of that, but it was only 106 feet away. And that was the previously approved permit, so it is a little bit further away. In addition to that, it was the previous permit had a 4-story building, whereas this is only 3. So the trees that are being proposed, and there are a lot of evergreens, so those are meant to just block the sight line, the adjacent.
Wish you had a pointer. See? So along the line, it says 147, there's gonna be trees planted.
Yeah, so there are trees around the
Every,
back.
those the yellow dots, there'll be trees.
The yellow dots, that's actually just the fence
All
line.
right, but along that same
Yeah,
line,
yeah,
there'll be trees planted
Also
on the
large.
inside
Mhm.
to grow how high?
Some of them are 50-foot mature height. They're large.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the goal is at some point that there'll be no view between the hotel and the property.
That's the idea.
The drawing at the bottom appears to show a 4-story hotel.
Right.
That was the previous.
The previous.
one. So, yeah.
But the
Do you have actual drawings of the hotel as proposed?
I do have it at the end.
Okay.
You can see,
ski, the brown at the top is the proposed.
Yeah, that's the hotel, the L-shaped building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be 3 stories he's gonna show us, but the one on the bottom is what was proposed in 218.
Yeah.
Well, that's the 218 hotel?
The bottom one.
Is that the
Red.
I think we have 4 stories, but
That was a
we're
different
intending to show the relation to the larger trees.
Oh, so that's
that-
the current.
It was meant to be, but I don't think it actually is. Yeah. So that's our mistake.
Well, it helps your
Yeah,
case.
cross that.
In the
Cross
end,
that out.
I can't unsee it.
Yeah, yeah. These, I already talked a little bit about the DOT easements, but the red, so they're DOT drainage easements and then the setbacks. So the main point of this slide is just to show the very small triangle of development area in the front here that there's really not enough space to fit a building there. And then this space here is really difficult to get circulation, we can't really tuck the building right in the corner of the lot, so that's why it's as forward as we can, realistically get it, as close to Route 2, with maintaining like fire access and circulation around the site. So that's what.
Can you talk a little more about the DOT easement?
Sure.
So that's what, why is DOT involved? Because ultimately that water is going to go into something that's in the state highway.
It goes from across the road. It's a culvert that just conveys drainage from across to all the way into that intermittent.
So that
stream on the
exists
side.
today on the
Yes.
site, these two easements.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with your drainage system. This is what DOT has put in a long time ago, got the rights to do it, and
Yes.
you have to work within those limits.
Correct.
Okay.
Question, a 5 foot drainage sounds pretty big.
It's huge. Yeah.
Why is that necessary in this site?
So it's not necessary for the site. It's only conveying water that's been generated from an upstream catchment through the site. And it was something that DOT put in and they own it.
It's like there's an underground river.
It is pretty much because that is
Yeah.
an intermittent stream that's basically connecting to that stream, and probably, I don't have the historic plans, but at one time it was probably
So
a daylighted. stream.
where is the water coming from then? Not
It's-
one?
Coming from the rotary, right?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. I don't have the whole catchment area in my head, but it's a significant amount of water though.
Yeah, I mean, a 5 foot.
And legally, you're forced to avoid it.
Yeah, you can't build on top of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are just we went through some alternatives, trying to get, different configurations on the site, but they're either, too close to setbacks. We can't quite get the circulation around the site. They're into the different, we're basically going over like the one on the top left-hand corner, we're into the drainage easement. So this is all to say, we really did try and pull the buildings as close to 2A as we possibly could. And the restaurant is pretty much as close as it can get.
So which one of those four is, I can see which ones aren't, but is it the
None of
top
them.
left? None of them.
None of them. These were all just different alternative placements. So in the background, you can see the black line work that is the proposed. So there's squares and outlines of the building that are proposed. Yeah.
Do you have an image that shows where the proposed restaurant's going relative to buildings in the area, like how it relates to Applebee's? And
Actually,
is that coming up?
Don't have that. I just have the sign one.
Okay. You'd like to sort of to see a overall of the
It's overall,
streetscape to
the
see how.
streetscape, yeah.
Where the fencing is on the property now, is that where the parking lot will end up starting? The fencing on Route 2A, is that where the parking lot will be starting going into the property?
I don't know exactly. So it does appear that the fencing is, at least based on this aerial, it's maybe a couple feet off of the property line toward the road. So it's,
Then you go a little bit in before you start the pavement, because you have
Yeah.
good vegetation. You can compare the green space in front of Applebee's to the green space.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like you're going almost 15 feet in from the property line to the edge of the parking,
yeah.
and that's your planting zone.
Yeah. This is a depiction of the sign, so just that's one thing that's in context with the Applebee's, so a 25-foot high sign is 10 foot wide. Here is the architectural rendering for the steakhouse. Here is the architectural rendering for the correct 3-story hotel. And I'll pass it off to Sean now. He's going to go over some of the traffic impacts.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Again, for the record, Sean Kelly, the Chapel Engineering. The police of the board, I want to do is just take a few minutes to walk you through our traffic study, how we conducted it, what our findings were, what our recommendations are. I think that could answer any questions you might have. So the first slide, I think, we're probably all at this point familiar with the project site. Again, a 5-acre site located on the northern side of Mohawk Trail, Route 2A. The corridor is under Mass DOT jurisdiction, so we will need to get a highway access permit from the DOT district office for the project. Again, today the site is vacant. It had previously housed a hotel. There are existing curb cuts today onto both Minor Street and Route 2A, and as pointed out, the plan is to maintain access onto both corridors. So the traffic study that we conducted, we did in accordance with state industry guidelines. We evaluated impacts to locations that we expect will accommodate the majority of project-related traffic. As shown on the figure, we looked at Mohawk Trail at Minor Street, which is non-signalized stop control location. We looked at Mohawk Trail at Newton, which is a signal, and then Mohawk at Shelburne River, which is also signalized. Our study focused on the kind of what we call the 3 critical time periods for traffic along the corridor. The first 2 are the weekday morning and the weekday evening. These are your busiest time periods because you have commuter traffic. And then we also looked at the Saturday midday, which is typically when a restaurant type use would peak on the weekend. So we went out and collected counts during all of those time periods. We also looked at crash data. We also looked at vehicle speeds. Now I'll get into that.
It's too busy to speak.
So just to kind of put it in context, today Mohawk Trail carries about 18,400 a weekday, 15,600 on a Saturday. The peak hour flows range anywhere from about 1,300 to about 1,600. Minor Street's significantly less traffic, a little under 1,000 on a weekday, cuts in half on a Saturday, likely due to the fact a lot of the traffic is R&D associated. Peak hour flows on Minor are relatively low, 70 to 80 during peak hours. That's 2-way flow. We looked at the vehicle speeds both on Minor and on Mohawk. Generally, the average speeds were pretty close to the posted speed limit. The 85th percentile speeds that we use for design purposes were about 5 miles an hour higher, which is pretty standard. Typically, the 85th is a little higher than the posted. But those speeds, the sight lines that are available, or that's required for those speeds is provided. And then the last thing is we looked at the crash history in accordance with DOT requirements. We looked at the crash at all of these locations, the type, the frequency, contributing weather factors, things of that nature. We developed crash rates, and what the data showed is that all the locations have a rate that's below the state average. And then I would just note that we did take the counts that we collected. We did speak with Ella regarding other things happening in town, and we did factor in traffic associated with both the hotel redevelopment at 21 Coleraine on the opposite side of the Rotary, and then also the dispensary cultivation facility project that was here tonight. We actually incorporated their traffic as well. So all those numbers have been factored in. With respect to the project itself, we rely on data that's published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, or the ITE, and the ITE provides data for a variety of land use codes. For this particular project, we use data specific to hotel uses based on rooms, and then what we call a high turnover sit-down restaurant, which is your highest generating restaurant use that's not a fast food drive-through type use. So we use the most conservative for the restaurant. We took a little bit of reduction to account for internal trips. You will have some trips where people that stay at the hotel may go over and get dinner, or employees might do that, but we didn't want to overstate it. So you can see we only assume 1 to 2 people an hour. Some of that restaurant traffic will be passed by in nature, that people that are travel this corridor every day for work, or if it's near their home that will stop in but are already on the corridor. So when you factor all of that in, what it shows is that the actual peak hour impact of the project, two-way flow is about a little under 40 vehicles in the morning and about 20 and 20 out, a little under 70 in the weekday PM, about 35 and 35 out. And then the busiest time would be that Saturday midday. We have between 40 and 45 in and out. We haven't taken any reduction to account for other modes of travel, as I'll get into. There will be a multi-use trail right in front of the site, so it will ultimately lend for bicycle traffic, potentially to go to the restaurant. There is public transportation also that employees may utilize, but we basically took the most conservative approach and assumed that everything would be vehicular in nature, single occupancy. Look at traffic patterns. About half of the traffic we expect is going to head towards the Rotary. The other half either to downtown or some of the other side streets that we studied. So the overall increase in terms of hourly volume at any particular intersection beyond the driveway works out to be about a car every 1 to 2 minutes. So it's not a notable increase, but that's the order of magnitude. Just for the purpose of comparison, the first column here is the development that was shared earlier, that the large development that received local and state approvals a couple of years back. That had the multiple drive-through uses, also the same size hotel and restaurants. And as you can see, this project is significantly less impactful from a traffic perspective. The traffic for the prior development is anywhere from 2 to 3 times as much traffic per hour as what we're proposing. So just for the purpose of comparison, this is the change in trips. So it's a significantly smaller project. And as I point out, in full disclosure, our firm is currently working for Mass DOT. Our highway design group is in the process of doing work with them to design a multi-use path that's going to run along the northern side of Mohawk Trail in this area. It's a 10-foot wide path, can accommodate bicycle traffic, pedestrian traffic. So we've shown what's proposed currently. That driveway, what we're proposing is it'll be a little bit more to the east. But ultimately, we'll be working with the DOT to make sure that our access plan, is seamless in terms of what they're looking to do up there with the multi-use path. The one thing that we are proposing to change is that the current DOT plan, has a striped island in this area to offset the left turn lane that goes onto Minor Street. We will be proposing them to modify those markings to provide a small left turn pockets that the cars that want to pull into the site from Mohawk have an area to pull off so that they don't impede through traffic that continues eastbound into downtown. It'll hold about, 2 vehicles, maybe even get a third. But that inbound left turn, just to put it in perspective, it's not a particularly heavy movement. It's, 20 to 30 vehicles an hour. So you're looking at a car every 3 minutes. So even though it's a relatively short lane, we still think it'll be an important function to get that traffic out of the through lane and not block through traffic going downtown.
So will there actually be an island there to prevent left turns coming out?
No, that island isn't, I should mention that.
Not an island.
It's a painted island, crosshatch, right? So we would propose to basically take the bulb of that island that touches the crosswalk today and kind of shift it to the east, just beyond our driveway, and then restripe that with some left turn arrows so that people have an area to pull into.
So is it a right turn only out of the parking lot from?
No, we're proposing a full access, lefts and rights from the driveway. And even allowing both, we're showing that the queuing in the driveway typically is going to be in the order of 1 vehicle an hour during the peak periods. We have some traffic that goes out Minor, some of the traffic that would maybe want to go right to the Rotary, put a lot of the left turns onto the driveway. But we think it's an important function because we don't want to overburden Minor Street. We know that's it serves a critical function for not just for the RMV, but there's also another development parcel in that corner that may ultimately rely on Minor for egress. So we're proposing to do full access at our driveway.
You want to continue?
Well, I'm very concerned about the traffic coming out of that driveway and turning to the east, turning left. That section of the Mohawk Trail along there is already a mess. And most hours of the day. I mean, I was just down at China Gourmet, and it took me almost 5 minutes to get onto the Mohawk Trail just because of the volume. To make a right, to turn and head up to downtown. It's a very busy corridor, and
No,
traffic coming out of that parking lot and turning left is gonna mess with that even worse.
well, I mean, in terms of the impact of, I mean, if you're heading downtown, they're gonna get there one way or another. But so if we did restrict it, and we're not proposing that, ultimately, all that would do is basically shift it all to Minor Street. So you'd have the same condition you have giving us the left of the driveway. We would just be imposing that traffic onto Minor, where now it's forced to share that lane with all the R&B traffic, all the residential traffic that comes down Minor. So our thought was, if we provide for it on site, any queuing that occurs with cars leaving, waiting for that movement, it's a site, not a site issue, but it's contained on site versus putting it on the public way that, ultimately between the R&B, Applebee's and the residents in the back, they utilize that as their means to get to the corner, so.
So let me, can I just add to that?
Sure.
What he said, I understand your answer, but let's add these factors. If there's two cars in the left, in where the cross hatches are, they create a left turn lane into the project from 2A.
Correct.
So there's two cars sitting there waiting to go left. I'm passing those cars. In regular through traffic, I'm passing those cars. I'm not even paying attention to them because they moved to the left.
Right.
Somebody's trying to get out of the hotel, making a left turn. I can't see that car. So that car darts out because they're frustrated that they've been sitting there for 10 minutes to make a left turn. I can't see that car. Now, maybe you would say, well, that's the same problem with Minor Street.
Right.
Okay, so I anticipated that, but that is a real problem.
Well, there's no queue in front of Minor Street.
There could be.
If you're making a left turn, there's no left turn queue off of 2A.
There might, I don't, okay, so let's say there is though. So the same problem exists. What conditions would have to exist for the Department of Transportation to actually put a traffic light in?
Right. So, so to put a traffic light up legally, you need to meet certain minimum vehicular criteria, and it's over the course of an eight hours of the day. And typically, you'd want to have ballpark about 100 cars an hour on the side street, and that has to be for 8 particular hours. The mainline volume is certainly there on Mohawk, but I don't think you're going to hit the numbers you need on Minor Street. I think even more problematic is that even if you were to meet the warrants, you could put a signal there. I don't know that operationally, you want vehicles coming out of the roundabout thinking they're going to have a free movement to head downtown, and then suddenly, it's the red light in front of them. So,
You're right, but they get trapped on the next corner anyway. So
They already queue up coming down the off ramp off the highway. That would just
Yeah.
make that worse.
not to let them.
To put a light there would just.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, that's fair enough. I mean, all I'm saying is that we'll deliberate about it, but
sure.
are you saying, so do you know for a fact whether the left turn to Minor Street is actually a left turn lane, or is it it's a left turn?
Well, I apologize. This figure just cuts off, and you can kind of see when you see this.
So the same thing will exist to make the left onto Minor
Exactly,
Street.
and that exists today, the left turn lane to Minor.
Oh, really?
So they're retaining that in the DOT plan, but where my cursor is basically the stop line, where that lane ends for the left onto Minor.
So the problem already exists that I'm talking about. If somebody wants to make a left turn off of Minor Street onto Route 2A and head into town, that already exists. So
Yeah.
that won't change. Maybe a little more cars would do it, but having it come out of the cut is a change. So I just want to point that out.
Right.
It's going to be part of our deliberation.
Right, and my recollection, because I know that there were some street views of the prior use when it was operational, but I don't recall there being any restrictions on turns when
When Mohawk Motel.
or when the other project, that was.
I think we had a left turn only onto Minor Street.
No right.
Yeah.
The neighborhood.
That was my big idea.
Yeah, I mean, unless you live there,
Yeah, I believe the 2018 approval, you couldn't take a left into the driveway of the parking lot. You could only take a left onto Minor Street.
Right, but we're talking about leaving the parking lot to make a left onto 2A to go
Leaving.
east.
I'm not sure.
So is that what you're talking
Well,
about?
no, what I was talking about was when you're coming out of the parking lot onto Minor Street, you can only make a left turn, so you
Yeah.
couldn't go right back through the neighborhoods.
right.
So the road was engineered to be,
Oh, so you wouldn't get, so that people would be cutting through the neighborhood. So-
Right.
Okay.
I guess if you wanted to get to the signal that is at Shelburne, I guess you could take the big route if you wanted to, but no, I don't think, I don't speak for my client, but I don't think that we're particularly against that. That was a picture I'm saying that.
how would everybody feel about the left turn off out of the driveway?
I suspect that would be more of an issue. Because it's, I mean, ultimately, I mean, there are times, you know, especially if the RMV is busy, that minor street, you know, does have some delays leaving, and I think, you know, the goal would be to try to not exacerbate that and make it worse. I mean, ultimately, if you're in a, you know, condition where it really is busy and it becomes problematic to take a left out, and you always have the option to make the right, jump into the rotary, flow direction, head back that way. I mean, there is a kind of escape valve needed to do it, but particularly, especially during, you know, non-peak times, it's, we think having our access directly to Mohawk makes sense.
Continue, thank you.
Also, that was pretty much it. You know, again, just conclusions quick. Again, it was about one vehicle a minute or less at all the offsite locations. You know, it doesn't have a huge impact in terms of delays versus what's out there today. I know there was some question about the parking supply, and we did run the numbers based on ITE just to see what and ITE suggests that you need more parking than your zoning requires. I know the zoning, I believe, was 171, and I think we're proposing 236. The ITE data says that on a Friday night, this site will need about 196. So we're only about 40 more than what ITE suggests, and sometimes with, you know, if you know, we're going to have issues with snow plowing, things of that nature, that some spots are going to, you know, get gobbled up by vehicles during certain times of the year. Sometimes it's proven to have a little bit more, but we're not as far apart as the zoning and the proposed number is when you look at the ITE data. And then again, the sight lines, we've looked at those, they're all that we are recommending that, you know, any signage and vegetation doesn't get put into the sight triangles. We're recommending all the pavement markings and signage adhere to the MUTCD criteria, and then again, that the short left turn lane to get into the site.
And would that have to be approved by the DOT?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and again, our firm's working on that design right now, where I know they had a neighborhood or a public meeting, must have been at least a month ago, I believe. But we're hoping to get moving on the 25% design plans, and we'll ensure that whatever we do with our design gets incorporated into that, the state project.
And are you also working with DOT for a similar short left turn lane onto Minor Street?
That's currently part of the plan, yes. But they maintain that, because that exists today, so we definitely don't want to take that away.
And that can be a line. It's one of the things you never notice in
So,
life.
just a comment, my comment. You were talking about the parking, and the numbers. I guess what the community feels about that is that, so if you have too much parking and the parking isn't filled, then you're looking at a big site that's vacant. And it doesn't, so instead of having more vegetation to make it look prettier on the area that is vacant because you didn't need the extra parking spaces, you're putting up black circle, you're putting pavement in. So that's the concern. I mean, the board has to deliberate about it, but I think that's a concern. I understand there's a corporate energy coming, and it's corporate energy from outside of Greenfield. And we want to work with all businesses, so that's not the issue, but that's why the question comes up.
Sure.
It just seems like too much tar.
Not understood.
Right, and there were two, in today's emails, there were two different people who wrote in with that concern about how's it going to look, and will it look like an attractive entrance to Greenfield? Because this is how people get to Greenfield, is along this road. And if it looks empty, like David is saying, that would be a concern. Where do you see, you know, maybe we can go back to the image that shows where the parking is, that you're requesting the additional parking is being added. So we can see if that's a concern. You know.
So, first one.
There was that rendered plan that was kind of nice. Yeah, we are there.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I mean, there is vegetation. It's not barren.
What was was that your name?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that ratio again of planted area versus hardscape, that ratio that's in the required versus what?
I think it wasn't that ratio, but it was the zoning required 10%.
10% requirement of landscaping within a, parking lot.
Yeah. And we've got more than that?
36. Yeah.
So I think that's significant.
Where will the entrance, the actual entrance doors to the restaurant be? Because parking is gonna be people are gonna park as close to that as they can. Is it on the south side of the building there?
Yeah, it's gotta be right here. It's right here.
So it is that opening that you showed there.
Yeah, right.
So those spaces that
And
are,
those are handicap spaces.
yeah, those will be handy, but the ones across, those will be filled first rather than ones further back in the lot.
And it's this first row of parking spaces that were being asked to, yeah, so what is the front yard setback here? Is it 25 feet?
And there's two front yards since it's a corner lot, so both along.
So they're asking for a variance on both, for not a variance, but for a,
To get within
Special
the
permit.
50 feet,
Yeah.
they're approaching on 50 foot.
I thought it was 25. It's 25.
25.
I mean, so you're really only encroaching on the 25-foot setback by like somewhere between 9 and 10 feet along Route 2. I mean, isn't there any way to like just shift everything back 10 feet so you can be within that 25-foot yard setback along Route 2A? That's a minor.
Well, if that happens, then they don't need to go for a special permit, they would go to the planning board.
Well, they would still need it here along Minor Street.
So, you know. Is that, are the owners of here, is that how much is it, 2 feet, 3 feet?
I think it's probably like 6 or 8
Well,
feet.
I guess that would shift the circulation a lot, and you're trying to create as many parking islands as possible, so it would probably make the lot look worse as far as the amount of landscaping that we're able to do with that many. It could be something that could be looked at, but I prefer not to shift from this restaurant.
A lot of this is driven by the restaurant tenant, and they want as much proximate parking as possible, so try to make the best of that.
I understand.
Sorry, can you repeat that? What was the restaurant's requirement?
I do want as much proximate, like close parking as possible.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to find, I guess, the happy medium, maintain more landscaping, close parking.
Understand.
Okay, thank you. Do you have more to add?
That's all right.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else from the applicant wish to speak at this time? All right. I see you, Stephanie. I think the next thing is to read into the record things that we received from
Today's emails.
yeah.
Have them if you need as well.
Oh, sure. I thought that'd be good.
I actually have I have a comment on this one. I sent an email on the prior one. I just had a question on this one.
Go ahead.
Thank you, David. Stephanie Duclos, Chapman Street. So just constantly driving in that area, I have a concern because in that map, it doesn't show that there's a school adjacent to that. If I'm thinking where it's next to Planet Gas and then kind of behind Planet Gas, and then there's a Newton Street School. I'm just wondering how that's going to impact that and the flow coming in during those school hours, coming into the intersection by Dunkin' Donuts.
Is that a question for the traffic person?
Yeah. So does Mass DOT have to get involved because it's Route 2A? Because I know there's everybody sees the accidents and one person just got stuck under a tractor trailer truck. So I'm just, we all know there's huge problems in that area. I'm just wondering if with the new addition of like Aldi's and Starbucks being in that, if the total amount of traffic is being considered for that area, maybe Mass DOT needs to do some widening. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Yeah.
Mass DOT will need to review this, so we'll have to submit our traffic study with site plans as part of our highway next development. So if there are any issues they identify related to cooperation, safety, we'll have to address those as part of that process.
So is it fair to say it's possible that your study, and their approach to your study might be different?
We may get comments, it's tough to tell until we submitted. I will say, we did look at the morning peak hour, so we did evaluate the arrival time. The school showed it. I mean, frankly, there's not a lot of traffic along 107 in the morning. It doesn't open until noon or even later, so it's really just going to be the hotel. And even though we did, shift some of that traffic into the downtown area, a lot of that traffic we expect is going to jump right in the highway. So, there will be some morning impacts, but the morning is, I think the total number of trips was less than 40. So we're probably sending, 20 towards downtown. So that's 10 cars in each direction. It's probably 6 minutes. So we don't anticipate a big impact during school times.
Thank you.
This first one is, I drew out the name of the.
Yes.
This is Jeff Sauer from 61 James Street. And email reads, "Hi, Ella and David. I'd like to share my comments on the 125 Mohawk special permit application as part of the public record for tomorrow. I'm unable to attend the meeting in person, so I'm sending my comments in advance. First of all, I'm very excited to see this development appear on the agenda. I think the hotel will be a great addition to the city, and I'm also happy to see a significant restaurant investment as part of the project. My comments are focused on the urban design of the restaurant portion of the site. I think we should consider the stretch of Mohawk Trail on this side of the Rotary as a gateway to downtown and an extension of Main Street. To that end, I hope the site design can be adjusted to present a more inviting and pedestrian-oriented frontage, such as by shifting the restaurant building to the sidewalk edge and pushing more parking behind it, closing the curb cut along the trail, parentheses, if needed, we could restore the second curb cut on Minor Street closer to the trail intersection so the site retains 2 access points. It seems like Minor is a safer entry-exit route than the driveway on the trail anyways. Closing the trail curb cut is impossible. Shift the building to the southeast corner of the site to retain vehicular circulation with the planned driveway off the trail. If pushing to the building to the sidewalk is not possible, consider the frontage treatment at Applebee's next door. Front lawn instead of parking spaces between the front door and the sidewalk. Add shade trees along the sidewalk and within the site wherever possible to restore this part of the urban tree canopy and add comfort for pedestrians walking by and through the property. Reconsider the overall parking count in case that frees up some better urban design options. The space count seems excessive. These comments are intended to make the design a step more pedestrian friendly and in keeping with some of the best practices we expect from other projects in and around downtown. I hope we can raise the design standard along this stretch as properties redevelop. I understand some compromises may be necessary to accommodate requirements from the hotel and restaurant, but hopefully we can make some improvements before finalizing the plan. I am happy to work with the design team on adjustments to the plan if that will help. Next correspondence is from Jamie Bartak, also 61 James Street. Good afternoon, members of the ZBA. As I may not be able to attend the ZBA public hearing tonight, I would like to provide written comments about the application of DVR Greenfield LLC in advance. First, I'm excited for this project and welcome their development to town. I think we should do everything we can within reason to accommodate this development. That said, I think it is outside of reasonable to grant more parking in the front yard, and I hope you will deny this request. This strip of Greenfield is one of the first sites that visitors encounter when they exit 91 or pass through via the Mohawk Trail. While the uses are suburban in nature, such as McDonald's, Starbucks, Aldi, Applebee's, etc., these sites have done a nice job of maintaining attractive natural buffers between Route 2 and their buildings. The dimensions in place in the bylaws are there for a reason, to help piece together the Greenfield streetscapes that we want as it develops. And there doesn't appear to be an overtly compelling reason to provide an exception and allow unsightly parking to be placed at the front of the lot, even if that is the current unfortunate condition. This would degrade the process we've already made along that strip and would render these standards pointless if we were to exempt this key development from them. Surely it's possible to move the curb cut to another location, such as Minor Street or closer to Planet Gas, in order to bring the building closer to the street. In fact, the curb cut located as presented, while pre-existing, might not be great for traffic flow in that single lane portion of Route 2. I recognize that these chains have corporate development templates, but we do not need to send the signal to this or other companies that Greenfield will easily roll over on its very reasonable and basic standards for its streetscapes, in deference to a national corporation's desire for cookie cutter efficiency. Greenfield is on the rise, and we should not prevent that. I would also like to note that the amount of parking seems excessive. How many customers are actually expected to eat at a Longhorn Steakhouse at any one time? I've never seen a full parking lot at one of Greenfield's large chain or commercial establishments ever. I would ask the ZBA to consider that the parking amount is perhaps geared less towards the actual reality of use than towards granting customers maximum ease of finding a parking space at the expense of the streetscape and public realm. I don't believe that's a fair trade-off. Finally, I applaud that there are street trees in the plan. I would request that the applicant be required in their permit to plant shade trees along the entire segment of Route 2 in such a way as to shade the sidewalk. People do actually use these sidewalks, and be required to maintain the trees, such as watering, so that they grow to maturity. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And there's, you got the, from the town departments.
I have mine,
I just want to read in the record.
yeah. However you.
Well, let's you, Ella's will be last. Let's see.
Okay, I didn't, print all those, but I can pull them up quickly.
Great. Okay, so this next Ella's memo, which is 3 pages. Yeah, the rest of it have-
Just the first 3 pages. Those are just the recommendations.
No, it's really long. No, yeah, I think just the recommendations make the most sense. Yeah,
Okay,
if any.
okay, we ready? Ready to do this? All right, so this is you. I'm ready.
Hang on.
Take a breath. This is ZBA from LOI's Director of Planning and Development, Planning Department's recommendations. Inquiries. The Department of Planning and Development recommends the following inquiries of the applicant to inform the review and potential conditions of approval for section 208.3 special permit criteria for approval, section 208.4 site plan review approval guideline. Permitting. What is the status of other permitting? Vehicular access permit from MassDOT, Massachusetts Environmental Protection Agency review from Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and notice of intent from the Greenfield Conservation Commission. Abutting residential uses. What is the visual impact of the 3rd story of the hotel on the abutting residential properties? Describe the lighting strategy along the northern edge adjacent to residential uses and what will ensure there is no impact on abutters. Exhibit A of the 2018 special permit decision requires that the average light intensity within the parking lot is 3.61 foot candle. How does the proposed light intensity compare? Exhibit A of the 2018 special permit decision requires a 6-foot-high solid vinyl privacy fence located on site, 2 feet off the property line along 17 Miners Street, along with planting 6 eastern redbud trees. How does the proposed screening compare? Public realm and urban design. Explain why the proposed number of parking spaces exceeds Greenfield zoning requirements and how the parking lot could be redeveloped in the future if conditions change and fewer spaces are required for the proposed uses. Is it possible to move the restaurant building forward towards Route 2A so that only landscaping is separating the public realm from the buildings? A special permit to reduce the front setback by 20% could be considered. Safe and convenient multimodal mobility. Explain how a patron can safely and conveniently walk from the hotel to the sidewalk along Mohawk Trail and onto downtown Greenfield. Explain how long the eastbound left turn lane into the parcel from Route 2A would relate to the intersection with Minor Street. How many cars would be able to queue in that left turn lane? Those were inquiries. Now we're on conditions. Pending responses to the inquiries above, if the board is inclined to approve the application, then the Department of Planning and Development recommends the following conditions of approval for the applicant. Safe and convenient multimodal mobility. Provide a safe, convenient, ADA-compliant footpath for pedestrians from the hotel to Route 2A, either internal to the site or as a sidewalk along Minor Street in coordination with the Greenfield DPW. Demonstrate work with MassDOT to modify the current improvement plan for Mohawk Trail in order to provide a short left turn lane on Mohawk Trail eastbound between Minor Street and the site access to accommodate inbound traffic flow at the location, maintain an exclusive lane for through traffic continuing eastbound per the 2026 traffic study. Add secure bike racks at the entrances of the hotel and restaurant per the 2026 traffic study. This was also a condition of the 2018 special permit approval. Obtain approval from MassDOT for an access permit for the project and submit a copy of such approval to the planning department. Again, a condition of the 2018 special permit approval. Provide accessible pedestrian access from the hotel to the restaurant. Again, this is also a condition of the 2018 special permit approval. Install handicapped accessible push button doors for all non-automatic doorway for the hotel and restaurant uses. Again, that's a condition of 2018. And under public realm and urban design, conceal all roof machinery by the roof parapet. This also was a condition of the 2018 special permit. Okay.
Yes. And how about the, this needs to read the department's recommendation.
These are all no comments. I think that's one of those.
But I read the no comments as well.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, so there's a memo from the Department of Public Works. No comment.
What does it say on the bottom? It just says no comment.
This is the Health Department. They also have no comment. The Licensing Commission has no comment. And the Conservation Commission has comments. Greenfield Conservation Commission is currently reviewing the notice of intent DEP file number 168-0367 for 125 Mohawk Trail, map 46, lot 21. The commission has requested the applicant prepare additional information for discussion and review at the next meeting on August 25th, 2026, including the following. 1. Updated design plans to address the identified portion of the stormwater system that does not meet stormwater standard number 2. 2. Identify all trees in jurisdictional areas that exceed 8 feet, DBH, that are to be removed.
Diameter.
Thank you so much. Diameter of breast height that are to be removed. Once the public hearing has been closed, the Conservation Commission will provide their comments and conditions to the ZBA.
Before I go to the public, can you tell us, can you come up here and talk to us about what's been for that time and how that would impact the project?
Sure.
Can you show us on the,
So the. Okay. So there is an intermittent stream on the eastern side of the site, which under the Greenfield regulations it's regulated like a riverfront area. So we went through that process with them. They didn't have really comments on that because the site is a redevelopment site and it's all previously altered area. So that was a major component of the application. And they didn't have any follow-up questions on that. The stormwater system itself is shown here in blue. So there are underground, the groundwater on this site is fairly high. So we are infiltrating what we can in these two islands. These would be recharge areas, and then we have a bioretention area down here that's also going to recharge water. There are underground storm bricks. They're much like the chamber units that are proposed in 4 different areas on the site, and those provide peak flow detention. So there are two outfalls that currently go to the intermittent stream that goes to the Green River, and those will be maintained. So the 60-inch culvert goes there, and there's two catch basins on site currently that do discharge to that, and we're gonna reuse that connection. And then the 12-inch pipe that flows through the site also goes to an outfall, and we'll be utilizing that pipe as well.
So what are the areas that the Concom is concerned about not meeting the
The,
requirements?
yep, so the larger storms, the peak flow, so it's being met for the 10-year storm, but then the 25-year storm and the 100-year storm for the middle of the site was not meeting the peak flow requirements, which is something that they basically can determine that they don't approve of that due to the downstream flooding impacts that could be potentially happen. So we've actually enlarged the detention facility, this one right in the center here, so that it does meet the peak flow for those larger storms. So that's why it got continued there, and we're going back
Okay, thanks.
to present that. And then the 8-inch DBH trees, since they have jurisdiction within the riverfront area, which is 200 feet from that intermittent stream, they were asking that we tabulate and identify what's there on site, what's going to be removed, and make sure that we're replacing those trees. So they just, that is happening. They just wanted to see it more clearly on a plan.
So worst case scenario would change your plan materially?
We've already changed it. So no, it doesn't. It just enlarges. You see my cursor?
Yes.
This is the underground
right.
detention. Yeah, so that's.
But you wouldn't be forced to there wouldn't be a bigger no-build zone on the easterly edge for any reason, the 200 feet?
No,
Improvements, none of that would be affected by anything that's,
that's
they couldn't.
currently outstanding with them.
I'm just
as far as
concerned
their
that,
comments.
so you're going in on the 25th. If the
Yes.
worst situation occurs for you, that the Concom thinks X, Y, and Z in a way that would be unfavorable to this plan, will it impact anything on this plan? So you'd have to come back to us to change what the site plan is like?
It doesn't actually, they weren't concerned with anything that's on the surface. The only thing was the underground detention.
Gotcha.
for the stormwater.
Yeah, we had a big flood
Yeah.
in 2012.
Okay. Yeah, so it's really just enlarging the stormwater detention.
I just want to interject that those were the questions that they asked at the previous meeting for more information,
Yes.
but all concerns are still on the table. There's no like preliminary decision that everything else they discussed is totally fine. That does seem to be the direction of the discourse at the public meetings, but certainly the site plan can change due to Conservation Commission.
In what way would it change? Just that less land would be able to be developed?
I don't think that we can know, like, their hearing is still open.
I
So we
guess,
can
yeah.
surmise that there wouldn't be any concerns that would affect the site plan, but we don't know.
Well, I'm trying to surmise the other way. I'm saying that if we, I guess my question is if we approve this site plan, is it possible that the Concom would have a decision that would materially change the site plan? So why are we waiting for?
Yeah, so we've already had 2 hearings with them. And we're going back for the 3rd, and the items that were discussed, I think they were pretty clear about what they felt in their minds was still outstanding for us to submit. But as was stated, they could go back and bring up things that they stated were resolved, but they can always reopen those questions. But I guess I think we had a clear understanding about what they wanted to see.
So you feel confident you've met that?
I do feel confident that we just needed to be, I guess, more clearly show to them what we were doing with the trees. And then the underground detention obviously doesn't affect anything with the zoning, since it would all be underground.
All right.
And like the bioretention basin, that was something that was added through the process. That wasn't in our first hearing, and they really wanted to see some green infrastructure, so that was added. So we've really worked through a lot of the design elements.
Can you cursor where the 200 feet might be?
It's actually this line right here, so it's it goes all the way
That's
up,
pretty
then
big.
it goes through the building and it
Gotcha.
ends right there.
So
Yeah,
that, they have jurisdiction over that.
they do. Yes.
Okay. The next question is, are you applying for a liquor license?
Actually, it's not.
It's not part of this whole,
No.
okay. Thank you. All right, thanks. Any other questions by the members of the board?
Yeah. David, I have a question for you or maybe for all. I'm not sure what this committee's jurisdiction is and the planning board. Because it seems like the planning board is still in the process of reviewing the same project.
You know,
No, they're
They
done.
talk about the planning board, they're making a comparison to, in 2018, the planning board had jurisdiction over the project that was permitted. And now, because of the, I don't know exactly why, but we are now, it's our jurisdiction to decide the special permit, which by our ordinance means whoever decides that, if there's a special permit, we decide the site plan. If there's no special permit, the planning board decides who looks at the site plan. So that's,
right.
the Conservation Commission has independent jurisdiction on the site.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay,
I just wasn't sure what the overlap was.
there's, the only overlap is they're advocating that since we've already allowed a project that's bigger and has similar design features, why shouldn't we allow the same thing now? It more or less.
I'm trying to remember if the 2018 project was parking in the setback. Does anybody remember that?
There
Or
was.
Yeah, I don't know why it came before you, but it did.
Well, it's a site plan review then. Yeah, right. Why did it come before us? We knew well, back then the ZBA made recommendations to the planning board.
But still, it wouldn't have been, I mean, we're digressing, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You did it. Good for you. You did a great job.
Yay.
Thank you very much. Well done, Andrew. Okay, any other questions before I go to the public? All right, but first I'm gonna see if there's anybody here live that would like to make a comment about this project. Go ahead, would you stand up, please? Just so we can hear you, because it's like a class.
I'm Jean McIntyre, I'm the butter on Market Street. And my concerns are that this particular hotel plans set back much further toward the residential portion of the lot than the 2018.
Do you mind if I ask them to put up the
That would be very helpful.
plan so you can actually, so we can actually see what you're talking about? Could you do that for us? Thanks. No, thanks.
So did you want to see?
No. I mean, you could go back, if she's gonna
This
make.
is what we want to talk about?
No, I want to
That's
see.
where we
the-
are.
It shows
I want to see
it shows the
the
abutters.
live.
Well, that's the one we want to look at.
No, I want to see the live.
Well, I thought you-
There
you
go.
I thought you-
Something where I can see
Okay.
her house and
Yeah.
what's really on the ground. Okay, thanks.
This is the proposed,
Right,
Yeah.
yes, which property is yours?
I'm at 11 months.
Right, on the map, can you just help us? Is it the first house after is it the second house?
That's the 17.
That's my house.
Daniel's house, and then I'm the next one.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
And my concern was just, one of privacy. Given that it's a three-story building, overlooking once or at most two-story homes and properties. Eventually, people at the hotel look down into our yards or whatever. So it's just kind of
I don't mind if you go up there and point to what you think the windows or the places in the hotel would be that could actually look in. Is that?
well, I'm seeing a different view of the hotel today than I did with the conservation. A little more clear where the rooms would be. And I was also concerned about what they were doing to mitigate noise and light from the hotel, parking and the hotel itself through the residential area. The lighting was addressed in this meeting. How tall the poles could be and how bright it could be.
So you heard that, right?
I-
Okay. Do you have any questions? Do you want to
Well,
comment on that?
it seems less than what was originally proposed in 2018, so I guess less is better. Traffic was another concern. The entry to the hotel really abuts Daniel's lot. It's 17 line driveway. Yeah. And goes up, just additional traffic on that end of Pine Street.
So are you asking us to do anything to mitigate that?
Well, it would be nice if there's another entrance on Line Street that currently exists. If that could be used instead of the one by 17 Line Street.
Now, I understand that the one that's there now was also part of the 2018
It
project.
was,
There was a second one closer to that.
yes, it's a gate where the people that have the authority.
If people were only allowed to make a left turn onto Minor Street instead of a right turn, as had happened in the other project, would that be a mitigation for you?
Well, it would be helpful. It doesn't help.
Well, let's talk about your property. And
Yeah.
you can talk. Because each one has its own distinct
Yeah.
issues.
Taking a right onto Minor Street, I would not be in favor of. I would like to see all the traffic go left and exit onto the.
So you have the height of the building, since the location is different, whereas before that it was a 4-story, but it was in a different location. It may have affected your neighbor at that time, but you now are clearly in the sight lines of
Right.
the story. And with mitigation, are you asking for something? Very tall.
Can I just tell you the three, but I went over it.
Yeah. These trees aren't anything.
Well, immediately, no.
So you can only do something like well, her house is the next one, so we keep going, right? We'll go all the. That's a 6-foot fence. I understand. How tall is it you're gonna, how tall is the addition?
Not sure.
Can you get it, just like the break.
The landscaping set is pretty helpful to be specific.
Yeah.
So there's-
Not everything in it, but I know there's red pine, Wilson fir, winterberry, but I don't know, yeah.
I just want to see how high they are planted.
Like
where do they
I think
start?
they're like 1.5, no, they're probably
Small.
We address the window issue of the also because this hotel has a okay, so
in the
window,
back.
you can see this window facing that way
Yeah.
and window facing this way.
Right, but what about
The
the one that
the
goes?
hallway between this house, whatever they own, you know what I mean?
I don't, I'm sorry.
So
I wish there was a window.
Are there no west?
window will be facing this way
Yeah,
and this way hotel. This will be the hallway here. There will be one small window for the
how
hallway.
about the back wing that runs this way?
The back will be facing this way, this way.
There'll be windows going that way.
Yeah,
I think that's the concern.
But I think that's too much.
That's substantially removed, I think. from the
Yeah, yeah.
front.
Is that your concern?
Now, moving to the building back, there's a concern why moving that before than this. Before, whenever they designed wrong because there's a easement, DOT easement. They tried to get a waiver. It was impossible to get.
So it would never have happened.
That's the reason this building moved back because of the DOT easement. Okay, that's a clear point.
So if I understand it, you're saying there are windows facing north and south, but not west. Then the other windows, the board has to decide. Are you be specific to us about which part of that?
In,
Well, now that I know which way the windows.
Yeah, and the lighting where we say up 3.79.
Yes.
Only gonna stay inside the parking lot. We're not going even on 2 feet from the light.
It sounds like no windows on the west side of the building, but near your property. Your neighbor's going to speak as well, but in the back, there will be windows, but that part of the building is probably twice, it's another distance away. So can you answer us? will that, are you, now that you see it, do you still have a concern about the height?
Not so much.
Okay.
You know, it's a three-story building as opposed to
A four-story.
currently the main,
Oh, yeah.
so it's going to stick out.
Yeah.
And that's probably what you want to be noticed.
Right.
I don't have a problem with the hotel, the restaurant on that lot. When I bought my property. In the city, so.
Yeah, you want privacy. So it sounds like you want privacy. and I think-
We should give the right turn to the minor because there's a lot of good houses up there. And they will go to this steakhouse restaurant, eat, you know what I mean? And they don't have a right up there, you know what I mean? Because all these minor street people are gonna take a right, you know what I mean? To whenever they.
To go home, you mean?
Yeah, and not to have.
mean, all the
right,
people in the
they have to
neighborhood
go
are
out.
gonna
They'll be
drive
very
and-
frustrated, those neighbors, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Oh, so I think we should keep it the right also, that would.
I hear
you. Yeah, because
Okay.
this will make a lot of people frustrated in that area, you know what I mean?
All right, it's a balancing test. But at least we've dealt with your property and
Right now,
the view.
this meeting has clarified a lot of things
Good,
for me.
good.
I'm more comfortable with the things from my perspective. It sounds like they're taking extra steps to make it.
Right, to give you the.
Again, the main concern remains this, the driveway is so close to the
Yes.
residential section of.
Okay.
What is the fence gonna look like? You mentioned a 6-foot fence.
Yeah.
It's not a chain link fence, it's.
No, it'd be a privacy
White
fence. Yeah, I'm not
plastic.
sure what material. But yeah, it would be
We have.
yeah, there's probably the details. Yeah.
And that's, Chuck, if you can find it.
Standard details.
Yes. Well, you're in. Yeah, I do have that. So.
Smooth cedar wood slats fastened to rails with wood screws. This says it's 8 feet high. Is that right, or is it 6
Yeah,
feet?
cedar wood comes 8 feet. Standard, they come 8 feet.
But do we,
We need a special permit for this.
No, I think, I think we're just going 6 feet high.
In other words, you'll
That needs
you'll
to be
cut
revised.
it.
Yeah,
At least we know it's cedar.
yeah.
So while we're on it, and you're talking about the driveway, so what would the impact be if we moved the driveway? Oh, because you have the hotel.
Thank you.
You have the driveway.
Right, so I will explain. Whenever fire trucks and everything comes in a moment wise, right? So they come around to the hotel, whenever they're making a left turn to come around. If we sit the driveway here, then we lost all this parking area here.
I was actually thinking of bringing it even further down.
Yeah, so that's the moment we create, because whenever fire trucks always want WB 67 to run around in a moment, you know what I mean? And that's the reason we continue getting to the same side.
Thank you.
I can tell you, we studied this project for 3 months, how to lay out, what to lay out, how to satisfy, because I was explaining to her, okay, our goal to be not to disturb any neighboring people. How can we improve better? And that's the reason we actually spending more landscaping, 20% more money here and the landscaping also. Because we done this type of project in Greenfield. And a parking reduction wise, why it doesn't work? Take example 99 restaurant right now. Whenever we are very busy on a Friday and Saturday night, we don't have enough parking between the.
Yeah, that's a tight spot.
Yeah, we all seen, I think all, to do that, that's also revenue drops because people frustrated, they don't want to stay longer in a wait up there for park and eat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the parking not dictated by us also, but the steakhouse also dictate what parking they're located. You know what I mean? Even you go West Springfield, they have 180 parking right now in West Springfield. You know what I mean? Because they do good revenue and they do good system, but they follow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we get comments from the fire department? I didn't hear that one.
I think so.
No.
Comments from fire.
You have anything else you'd like to
So
say?
I would just like to, comment on the left-hand turns question. Or,
Not the Route 2A or,
yeah, if you're coming out of Minor Street and you want to make a left onto 2A. Forget it.
Already.
Pretty much already. I, go out and do errands. If I wanted to go into Greenfield, I'd go out that way. Because I can sit there. Traffic twice this week. And this is around noontime, which is not part of your study. Traffic was backed up to the ramp. And there was still traffic going towards the rotary, so I just, if I was to make that left-hand turn, I would be still sitting. Sometimes you just take a right and go around the rotary street and come back, which is inconvenient.
I thank you.
Yeah, and if you're putting in another left-hand turn into the property where the cut is currently, that's something that comes up in worse.
Well, it's not, it creates a danger, a little more.
Yeah, so it's just a comment from someone who lives there and has to deal with it.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
I'll clarification answer.
Sure, go ahead.
So this, if my understanding, this left turn will be detained by the DOT also. Correct. And that's the reason of a building, you don't be in back setback. So that way, people stacking, you know what I mean, left turn. So that way, like 3-4 traffic stays in the left before they make it.
She's talking about leaving the property and making, if you try to make a left towards Springfield,
Yeah.
on Minor Street or that curb cut,
Oh, minus.
that's very difficult. It's too much traffic. It's hard to find
Minus
this.
to come this way.
Yes, Minor Street to make a left to go into Greenfield. She's saying that that's a very difficult left turn. And you're asking for a curb cut that's going to have another place where that very difficult left turn will be made as well. So what she's saying is that's.
Yeah, and again, I think if you were to restrict the lefts onto the Mohawk Trail driveway, I think you gave the answers to what's going to happen. If you can't make a left out of our driveway, but Minor Street, because you have the R&D and everything else is already backing up, then people are going to take a right and cut through your neighborhood and come out to Shelburne and do it that way. So if you don't put the lefts here at the driveway, ultimately you're going to get complaints a year from now that everyone that leaves the restaurant at night and wants to go back downtown is because they can't make a left are cutting through my neighborhood to get over to Shelburne Street City when they go to downtown that way. The way you just
Well, we could have a no left turn until 6 o'clock. I mean, it's not like,
but yeah, they DOT typically doesn't, if they're gonna restrict the movement, they typically want to do the physical geometric design. No one listens to those signs, and if you put a sign up, no, 1146.
Yeah, right.
Okay. They don't do it.
I mean, it's gonna be self-regulating in a way. I mean, if it's totally backed up, people go, I'm going right around the rotary, and that's what they'll do.
okay,
Yeah,
go ahead. You want to speak?
yeah.
Thank you.
So I share all, I'm Daniel Hales.
And you live-
17 Minor Street.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I'm the person in this room that's most impacted.
Yep.
By this. This is two sides of my property.
Yep.
And I guess my primary concern
You can go up there
is
if you want to
that,
show us.
is that having this as an access point so close to my driveway, turning out of my driveway is going to be very dangerous with increased traffic. And I guess the explanation that was given for why it couldn't be further or where it is currently, I did not register why it has to be there rather than where it currently is, or at least further.
Fire. I think is the.
Yeah, I mean, so the fire truck has turning radiuses it needs to get in and out of there, and that's.
And parking spaces behind the restaurant would be,
Well-
you said, those would be wiped out.
No, the first thing is that the fire truck has to get in there and be able to turn in and go straight to the building to be able to deal with the fire. If it had to go through the parking lot in any way, shape or form, it would cut out parking, which they don't want. And it would be, then the fire truck would have to come in and make another turn to get to the building.
It would be
So-
unsafe to have the truck going through a parking lot that's parked.
So I think, I mean, whether it makes you feel better or not, that's a reason, that's the number one reason that we have to consider. As
Is there
compared,
any, is there, so I'm wondering, is there any leeway in the position? Like, if it could be 5 feet further from my driveway, 7 feet further from my driveway, anything would be an improvement. It's just very dangerous to have people turning out. I mean, yeah, most people will be going back towards Mohawk Trail, but some people are gonna take the shortcut into town and just backing out of my driveway.
The left turn only might help that.
yeah,
Is that
but that's
gonna be
not,
just as posted sign?
No, it would be a geometry thing. You'd engine for the curb so that you can't turn right. You can't turn right. It'd be a raised structure there.
let me ask you this, could that driveway be moved any more closer to two A?
Maybe this is I wanted to come. So we might be consider 5 feet. We'll give you the drawing. You know what I mean? We might be consider 5 feet to move, no problem. But if we go further and we come to the driveway here, what happened? Between the two driveway, there's a parking. So walking path, one side become, you know what I mean? In a
You don't want
restaurant.
people to get run
Because
over.
whenever people goes to the restaurant, they're just looking directly at the entrance area. You know what I mean? They're not looking the driveway. You know what I mean? So that's.
But you would be okay with five, let's just get to the
If we
point.
bring it back, we might be considered that because we might be, drawing might be adjustable, you know what I mean? Because we can create with the landscaping little that way and come.
You
So we
mean,
just has to see the radius a little bit, you know what I mean? Bring it back.
I mean, you could do that. You would basically lose 5 parking spaces. If you just shorten those islands by 1 parking space, they can move the whole thing back 9
Yeah, so
feet.
we might be considered that way. You can put it in our.
And there's spaces to,
The only concern I have, like,
But-
we'll be able to look at it. The only concern is that if we were to shift this 5 feet down, all this would now have to shift 5 feet down, so we'll have to really understand what that impact would have on the entire thing. It wouldn't just be shifting.
Because of the fire cost, maybe.
no,
Yeah,
it would take out parking spaces all the way across.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it'd only take out 5 spaces.
Yeah, but the trucks movement sees the street, whenever trucks coming in, right? This, sometimes this one might be busy truck coming here, come here straight. They come straight here at a hotel, you know what I mean? Because they will be doing drilling and everything also same, you know what I mean? So they don't like to be turning too much movement, you know what I mean?
And we also don't want restaurant guests or hotel guests to be driving around the restaurant parking lot to get to the hotel. So we wanted them just to immediately go to the hotel.
Again, if we only moved it 5 feet to a straight line, I understand the loss of parking spaces, but what you just said, I don't understand. It would just be the same circumstance, just a little bit further south, that's all.
But this drive, if we move this down,
Yes,
this driveway, in order to align with this hotel entrance, would also have to be realigned with the 5 foot drop. So we'll have to understand.
I mean the
how much of an
perpendicular, you mean the
impact-
perpendicular
Yeah,
Yeah, because like,
intersection?
like this would have to be like straight, right? So if we move this down,
Yeah.
this would come down.
Right,
So we
but
have to see what that impact.
I understand.
And then we will be in a DOT easement side if we move the hotel a little bit.
Where is that?
That's our problem.
Oh,
We
like,
speak about it.
there's the easement. Yeah, you're like 6 feet off the easement.
That's what I'm telling you. We studied, we educated 3 months about this before we even come.
I used to work with a guy who would call these things like,
So it is a.
It's just the radiuses, I mean,
So it is 25 feet from the.
it's 20 or 25 feet from the property line.
It
It's
is.
not right on the property line. Yeah, might be 25 feet.
Yeah, 25 feet.
Does that make you feel better that it's actually 25 feet off your property line?
It makes me feel better than thinking that it was 15, but I prefer the current entrance. And
It's 50 feet from property line, then another. It looks like almost very similar, 20 feet to the driveway. Makes sense.
Okay, I hear that. Thank you.
And so that exit, if people can only turn left there, they can't.
No,
turn
that we
right.
haven't decided that yet. That's a possible
Because that would
mitigation.
be that would, if that were instituted, that would make me significantly more comfortable. People couldn't be turning right out of there.
Think about the right. This is a very important before we make a judgment on this. People come in this area to eat. Yeah, you know what I mean? The right, you know what I mean? Important for them to just get out and go right to their house side, all the residential people. If they don't have a right and they make a left, then they have to come back again here. You know what I mean?
The site won't be making a right anyways, it would really only be for the neighborhood.
neighborhood,
Who
right?
would be wanting to make
Yeah.
that right back, rather than
It's a-
coming back on Mohawk.
It's only 5% people neighbor who's gonna go for their dinner or lunch, who's making right. Hotel people and anybody, they're not gonna make right. Everybody gonna make a left. All the hotel, any
I-
restaurant people.
If there's a ton of traffic waiting to make a left turn, and they have their GPS, they're just gonna go around to the,
Even.
The lighted
even if you
section.
made it So that it was only a left turn, people would still be taking a right there.
Well, he's saying that it would be a
Even if
design,
it's-
it would be a design feature, so.
I mean, yeah.
Well, we can't stop.
And people that-
You know, that, I mean, you can't stop everybody from doing everything, but we can encourage people to do things. So
Sure.
that's a possibility. I guess what I'm learning from this is that we understand, I think I understand your concern, which is that the driveway is very close to your driveway and you feel suddenly that you're pulling out of your own driveway is going to be a problem where it's quiet now and you never really have to think about it. Now you have to look to see if people are coming out of the hotel driveway, which is now very close to your driveway. But it sounds like close is still some distance. So there's a distance from your driveway to your property line, and then they have a setback themselves that they have to adhere to, which is, I guess, they're describing as 25 feet. So you're probably 30 to 40 feet from that driveway once it's constructed. Right? Is that a fair statement?
It's just the radius of the driveway out, obviously, is closer. It's just the.
Oh, the radius, you mean as it gets closer as you turn?
Yeah. it's not the
Okay,
driveway.
okay, I see.
So I'm sorry, 25 feet from my property line or from my driveway? Edge of my driveway.
It
No,
looks like
there's a
it's only-
setback.
It's like it's more like 20 feet from the property line, maybe at the most.
Is that the
It's
setback?
something- Yeah, it looks, yeah. I
It's
don't
about
have
20
the exact
about
detail
20
now,
feet.
But it looks like it's 20.
So there's a setback that they have followed, which now is being stated as 20 feet. But I see what you're saying is that the radius is going to get closer. So I don't know, I guess you still. I don't know. We'll think about it. We'll incorporate your concerns into our decision. Okay?
Great. And I just want to echo also just Gene's concerns about privacy. I mean, it is reassuring to hear that the majority of the windows are oriented the other way. But I mean, I'm still looking out of my bedroom window at that hallway window that be directly facing my home. So, I mean, it's great.
It's a
It's not
change.
going to be a bunch of rooms
Yeah.
looking,
And
but it's
all
still.
hallway also has a blackout screen. It's a blackout screen always. So we always just not open. All the time will be blackout.
All right. Well,
Blackout screen meaning that
people
people
can't.
can't see through
So
it.
take example, you go to any Hilton hotel or Hampton Inn, anything, they have a white color screen blackout in all the windows.
All right. Well, we
Which
can.
would not allow people to look out.
Yes.
Or just not allow me to see them looking out at me.
And nobody
Yeah, in my backyard.
nobody looking that way. So you might be not gonna see anybody.
Are you, well, I think that's a fair question. Is the
Yeah.
blackout you're talking about that if I'm walking down the hallway, I can't see out, or is the blackout
Yeah.
that he can't see in?
He cannot see in either and people cannot see out either.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, well, that could be something that helps you too.
yeah.
That could be mitigated. All right.
It's all branded hotels, so they don't like to see the public area.
Anything else?
And I just want to echo the traffic concerns that it's just already a very fraught intersection. And it's going to bring a lot more traffic, and the situation Gene describes. I mean, in my commute from my job, I'm sitting backed up on 91 frequently, just waiting to get off to the rotary, and then waiting another sometimes 5 to 10 minutes just to turn onto Minor Street. And especially, there's been a couple situations. There was a fire on 91 a month ago, and everything was just shut down. It was just gridlocked. It was just parking lot. So it's just a very narrow street with a lot of bottlenecks, and every day a new person discovers that that's a shortcut street, and more traffic comes down, and a lot of it very fast.
Okay. Thank you.
2018, down almost 80%.
Go ahead.
No, there's lots more traffic on Mining Street because the bridge overpass by.
Has been, right. Yeah.
And I was just wondering if anybody knows when that's going to be completed.
Yeah.
That's stuff.
Good question, not our bailiwick. Anybody else want to speak?
I just also want to say, if 8-foot fence is an option over 6-foot fence, I'll take the tallest fence you can give me. Since I have to look at it. And I'd rather look at that than ours.
So you're willing to put an 8-foot fence?
If we do, but then we still have to go have a break work.
Yes.
Well, we'll figure that out, but are you okay with that?
Yeah, 8 feet.
All right, anybody online that would like to speak? I guess, can you close that or shrink that so I can see? Thanks. Please, thank you. All right, anybody out there? Linda Singer, you want to say anything? Anybody out there that would like to speak to the project? Okay. So we'll close the public hearing part, the public comment part. And are there any other questions of the applicant at this point?
No, but we can ask more during deliberation, right?
Yeah, so I have a wondering here. What time is it? Correct, right. So does the board think that it would be useful to wait to see what happens with the Conservation Commission before making a decision? Or do you want to begin deliberations? Because we don't know where that will settle. We can, it's up to, what do people think?
I mean, well, the worst case scenario is that the Conservation Commission puts something, some condition on the plan that changes it significantly from what we're looking at. And we can't just review it administratively and say, yes, that's okay. So, I mean, what are the odds of that? We don't know.
Well, I don't want to speculate on it. I'd rather more just, what's our best practice? Is our best practice to wait till everything is settled? Also, it could give us a month to kind of digest all this information and think about it and then go to deliberation at the next meeting.
And also to have a full board for a very important decision.
Yeah, well, Deb would have to catch up, but yes, that's right. We have the right to continue this. We don't have permission, so.
I'm amenable to continuing. I'm fine to deliberate tonight, but I do hear your point. Just, I prefer by the time it gets to us, everything's been done.
What do you think, Chuck?
I mean, I think everything's fresh in our minds right now. We've reviewed the plans, we've heard the presentation, we've heard the public, we've heard the emails. I mean, so we could do some deliberation and then.
Okay. If that's the case, does anybody want to take a 5-minute break?
I would like a break before we start.
So we're going to take a 5-minute break. Let's start with that.
Thanks.
While we're breaking, whatever we're doing while we're breaking, we can think about what to do next. Thank you.
See it.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. I always.
Just your explanation. Right on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know if we can do anything to help you, but
Things were explained much further.
And that was my experience.
And so a lot of my concerns.
We do fire that all together.
Why do you?
Yeah, it's hard to know until you really go through it. How many really is a foot? So yeah. It's hard to put it into perspective without like thinking about it. Oh, okay.
Tonight and then reject it, and then we cannot come back in 2 years. So that's not. This is what I mean. I do.
I don't think that's the sentiment as a board, but I think the bigger things are, my mind is, there are questions about how to balance that. And you've done a great job of helping us.
See, DOT has a different. All the access and easement.
Listen, we start here.
Yeah. It's gonna be too warm in here.
No, I know. It's a little chilly right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming right at us.
Yeah, I can remember your name.
Eva.
Charles.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, too. I don't know if we had met before or not, but you've been at some previous
can't
meeting or.
remember.
Yeah, who knows, right? Yeah. Are you interning?
Yes, I am taking notes for planning board meetings and ZBA meetings.
You studying planning somewhere?
I'm just at GCC. Right now, it's just, I've set it as just a general liberal arts major, but I'll probably go into political science for my entrance to the UMass University.
Cool. Yeah, I went to GCC
Yeah.
many years ago. I was an arts and science person.
Nice.
Because they got, mixed up.
I took a really fun gardening class this summer.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I like that building. My father was a teacher there for years. And we were kids growing up. We'd run all around that building. Like
It's like a maze.
it is like a maze, and those cool outdoor court.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Those little nooks.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that they made like a greenhouse and they got so it was too hot, and so now they just need to bring it back.
Yeah.
Like it's just a funny thing.
It is a big thing. Yeah. That whole new entryway was.
GCC.
Yeah.
I miss the old building where it's just a mirror image north and south.
Oh, yeah.
Learn half the building.
No, did you go there?
And reverse it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember when GCC was on Art Street, the old West building?
That's before my time.
Yeah, my father taught there, and we went around that building too as little kids.
Yeah, I actually feel like it's more confusing now, like after the asbestos remediation, the way like it's way more of a maze than it used to be. I mean, yeah, nooks and crannies with the north-south wing, but now it's,
like lots of places to find and discover.
yeah, it's a wayfinding activity.
But like
You can geocache at GCC.
I definitely I didn't leave enough time the first day of class. Like the first time I walked through the building, because I was like, I don't know, I don't really get lost in buildings normally. It's normally pretty clear. And no.
Yep. Yeah.
No,
I'm sure after a semester.
Pyramid layers.
Remember the fireplace lounge?
I love the fireplace lounge. Oh, God.
I took a lot of naps there.
Yeah, those were the days. Are you an intern with the planning department? And what's your name?
Eva.
Eva. Hey, my name's Mark. Pleasure to meet you, Eva. Welcome. I'm Eric. Charlie.
I just get you so confused when I was writing your name. I was like, you always wear the blue shirt.
No, he's the blue.
You wear that. Like, there's been sometimes in my minutes I write blue shirt. It's like I can't remember your name in that moment, and then I get to go back and like, wait, I know which person this is.
So search and replace.
We should, I don't know why we don't have like name blocks.
Yeah, what happened to our
name blocks?
Oh, at one point we all had.
Well, who would see him anyway? Just us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Chuck.
No, we can turn them like this. What's your name again?
Okay, let's reconvene. Before I close the hearing, or at least go into deliberation. There were some questions that Ella wanted us to ask, and I don't know if we've asked them and answered them. So I'd like to go through that list of her. So I don't know if you've seen, did the applicant see your memo?
Yeah, I can respond to that. I can respond to it.
You did, great, okay. So what is the status of other permitting? Can you go through that list?
Yeah, so the MassDOT vehicle access permit is being prepared for submission currently. The NEPA review, so we have a notice of project change and that's under review with NEPA now, so that's close. And then the NOI.
Oh, we talked about that,
We're
okay.
getting to the third hearing.
Yep.
And then what is the visual impact of the third story of the hotel and abutting residential property? So there's roughly 150 feet of separation. And there's trees that will remain along the property line, new fencing, and then we have trees that we're proposing to plant.
Yep.
The lighting strategy, so we have full cutoff lights, dark sky compliant, and as we stated, the foot candles will be reduced from 3.6 to the average in the parking lot is about 1 to 4 foot candles, and then the average across the entire site is 0.8, so that's very much reduced from the previous intensity. There was a question about the 2018 special permit and the 6-foot high vinyl privacy fence. So we replaced that with the wooden cedar fence, and the applicant's up for the 8-foot fence. That's something that you would want. So we have 3 evergreens, red pine, balsam fir, and then there's 14 winterberries along that side property line. There's questions about the public realm and urban design. So the number of parking spaces, I think we went into that. So I'm gonna address that again. And then about the building being moved closer, it would be something that could be considered, except this is such a unique site with the 40-foot drainage easement that there's really nowhere to move it within that space. The only location would be in the corner, but then that would prohibit the fire access around the site on the 2 sides, so that really wouldn't work. So it is the corner of the building is up against that 40-foot drainage easement, and it's diagonal, so it's really as far forward toward the 2A as we can make it. There is a question about patrons safely moving about the site. So there's already pedestrian access from out the hotel. I think we'll look at additional basically walking paths from the out to Route 2A from the restaurant. Just make sure that has safe egress there. We went over, I think, the other comments about the left-hand turn lanes on Route 2A, so we already went over that. I don't know if there's anything else specifically.
Well, the conditions that Ella has suggested, any pushback or any response that you want to make to any of her conditions?
I think if we could have a chance to look to see what ADA compliant path we could get from the hotel all the way out to 2A. I think it's possible, but I think we want to look at it, make sure we have a route there. If that makes sense, that won't.
Is there, on that vein, is there an ADA path from the hotel to the restaurant? It seems like the circulation from the hotel to the restaurant, pedestrian speaking, is not great.
No, I think we should look at that.
Because you come out here, then you have to jog around, and there's a crosswalk, and you come to an island, but then there's no marked pedestrian way to get to the restaurant from the hotel.
Right. Yeah, I think we can make it work. Demonstrate work with MassDOT to improve the plan for the Mohawk Trail. So we did discuss that.
What's the timeline on the request for the DOT?
We'll be ahead of them in the process. That they haven't started 25% design yet, so we'll be filing for the highway access permit before they do the multi-use path. So ultimately, what we'll have to show is that our design, there isn't recruiting of the design elements, the multi-use path. It'll driving people, so, we'll move first, the multi-use path design is probably going to be completed, and it could be a year away, you know, so we'll be going to be kind of in terms of the process.
How about the bike racks and
That's,
that?
That's fine, incorporate that, and then the access permit. So that's when we have that, we can definitely get that.
Yeah, that would be a condition, obviously. And then the pedestrian access you just talked about.
Yeah. So,
And how about the conceal all roof machinery? That was a condition of the prior. And push button doors, that kind of thing for the app for.
doors and.
Oh, yeah, they have the automatic doors.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right,
The building elevations didn't show any mechanical screening, did they? I can't remember.
Is that on the architectural plan?
Yeah, the architectural elevations.
So there's a roof and a significant parapet, that's how each franchise, they all have the significant parapet, that's their design element. All our machinery is typically located in like the center. So we don't put them around the edge, but when you have the high parapet, and then you have the equipment at the edge, it's.
Is that like a 3-foot parapet or something?
Exactly, what this one is. But I think it's probably quite not complete. The parapet.
However, HVAC going to be back in the area where we can have it on the top of the roof, you know what I mean, and the fence around it. So you're not getting able to see anything, you know what I mean?
Okay.
right, anything else that the board thinks we haven't asked? All right, for now, I'm gonna close the public hearing. I mean, we can't ask the questions and answer us. Is there something that you wanted to say to the
Yeah,
board?
just wanted to thank you for taking this meeting, Mr. Chairman and all the board members and everything. Please think positive for today's meeting approval process, because if we by mistake 1% denied or anything, we might be out for 2 years.
Right.
And we lost the whole asset, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Also negative impact about the circulation and everything moving back to the building and everything. Because we had a Berkshire Gas and now Berkshire Gas not giving because they have moratorium for the gas. So now we have to install the underground propane tank. So a building footprint gets changed. You know, we have to do, because now we cannot put 25 feet from the tank to the building, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's the reason we're using for the parking purpose, that area, you know what I mean?
Where is the tank then? Where's the tank
Yeah,
access?
there was a tank,
I'm not, you must have a big tank in like a.
no, I think we allocated some area for the tank also. Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't show up on the plan though.
That's, Jap can answer, but it is a 2 tanks going because,
You want to see this plan? Would you-
Is it on that plan?
I don't know.
somewhere it should be allocated, and
Is it
we
on the- it's
will
probably
be
on the-
submitting with
it's
the
probably
building
on the-
department also, you know.
Probably on utility. But I mean, those things have to be filled. They have to access.
Yeah,
That's what he's saying.
those are the things, so to understand all this together, we think it will be, then it by mistake positive did not happen, and it's extended 2 more years, then we lost the full asset value, you know. Your long one can be the help one, training, and we have to see them, it's hard to convince them.
They're right back here.
It's behind the hotel.
And tell that way, and it's here putting also, you can see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Restaurant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are the conditions we have to meet also to do this. We study it and we get it on the purchase. But we go at it. We feel this body and we try to be not. They go right.
That's okay. Very cooperative with the board. Did it. We will ask you questions still, I'll close in the hearing, but that's good, we stop to each other, okay?
Thank you, please, thank you. Looking for.
Okay. Who wants to begin? Maybe the architecture, yeah.
Um,
One who permitted this before.
well, I did permit this before, back in 2000. 18. It was a significantly larger project back then. I think it was a 5-story building, 4-story building.
Yeah.
It was, but it was more rooms. And I think the commercial development up front was, there was more complicated in terms of like traffic circulation. There were a couple different buildings there. They were parking within the front yard setback there as well. You know, it takes a lot to make a plan like this work, but fitting all the puzzle pieces in and fitting it in between the easements, which I wasn't really aware of last time around. So I think there's a lot here that's right. And I do think it's overparked. I think there's more parking for the restaurant than there are seats in the restaurant. And I don't quite understand that math. And I know that it's a corporate requirement, but and I don't know how much latitude we have in asking that to be relieved. There's 18 parking spaces up front. I mean, we're already overparked. I could, it's worth talking about what it means to eliminate those 18 spaces up front, get it out of the setback completely and landscape that area. Might even help with some storm drainage, but,
Okay, so those are your,
some of my
those are your
initial
beginning
thoughts.
thoughts. Eric?
Well, passed. I mean, generally, I just feel amenable to the project. I hear the concerns about the overparking. I guess at the same time, for me, it's not a hill I would die on. Like, I don't know that I would risk jeopardizing the entire project to get rid of a few parking spaces. Look at what it's been for how many years now. This is going to be much nicer. And frankly, I guess to me, like, there's already going to be upgraded pathways all the way along Route 2. Like, it's just going to be so much nicer for pedestrians. This is going to look nicer driving by. And frankly, it's not that nice looking of a stretch of road right now. I appreciate that it is the entryway into town and whatnot. But I still think this is going to be an upgrade to what we currently experience as we drive down it. So, like, I'm fine with kind of imposing some conditions or whatnot. But for me, trying to get rid of a few parking spaces from the front, like closer to 2A, isn't really a huge agenda.
Done?
Yep.
All right. I support the project. I want to say for the record that I heard the person who spoke about the landscape design and the idea that we really want to have these kind of projects look as good as they could look. But I feel like it's all about balancing stuff. And if I'm going to take the applicant at face value, they've done everything they could to comply with all the requests, including landscaping it beyond what we even asked for in our zoning. I mean, it's really their problem that they have too much parking, not our problem. They want to spend money to pave when they could spend it on something else, then, I suspect that there could be other uses for those parking spaces. Maybe one day there'll be a park and ride, or there'll be other things that could be used for that parking at that part of the rotary. So I'm not that bothered by it. I would like to see screening along the minor street and through 2A so that the headlights don't interfere with people driving. The 8-foot fence sounds fine. I know they didn't specifically apply for it and it wasn't in the hearing. I don't know if we could allow it or not. I'm feeling like we could because it's part and parcel and it was in the plans. So even if not specifically articulated, and they're agreeable to that, so that would help with the abutters. I think we can make a condition, there's blackout screening in the hallway along the west side of the building that has to be in there so that the neighbors know that they can enforce it. I just have two problems with I no longer have a problem. The right turn on Minor Street and the left turn on Route 2A are still things that I can't seem to get to a final place with.
Right turn on, can you just?
Yeah, so if we're coming out of the hotel parking lot onto Minor Street, but the neighbor asked for that, and the prior permit had requested a design feature so that you're forced to make a left turn onto Minor Street. So you come out and instead of having a choice, even if a sign said you can't make a right turn, we would design it so that you can only make a left turn. So it would be hard for your car to go over the curb and make a right turn. The applicant has given some reasons why that shouldn't be done. I don't think I'm so impressed with the neighbors needing to drive there and back because they could just go across the street and turn around in the registry of motor vehicle parking lot and go home.
Could walk there.
Or they could walk there. So that's, I think, so I need to hear another reason why we shouldn't do that, but it sounds like that was already a condition in the other permit. So why couldn't we do that now? But I would hear argument that that's an imposition for the project, and I would listen to it. I'm very concerned about Route 2A and the left turn. I just know that I'm going to be somebody's going to be driving on it's eastbound, daydreaming about something, seeing the lights in front of them on a winter day, and all of a sudden this car comes pulling out of the parking lot, and you can't see it because there's cars queued up. So if you can talk me out of it, that's fine. But that's a concern that I'd like to have somebody talk me out of rather than just have me pull it back. Those are the only places that I find that are necessary of a deeper look. They're going to look about, I think, I don't know if we could finish the decision tonight with them having to look at the ADA pathway and those kinds of things, and the Concom having to make a decision. If we want to give notice to the applicant of how we would frame the permit with conditions and then finalize it at the next meeting based on what we see, that wouldn't mean that we'd have to refresh our total memory. It would just mean we'd have to focus. So I'm inclined to not make a final decision tonight. I wouldn't mind if Deb were here and she took the time to look at this project and have a fifth voice in this. I do like her opinion on things, though she can watch the deliberation. But I want the applicant to hear from us that even the four of us do support this project. So he doesn't have to worry about the 2 years and the kinds of things that most developers have to worry about, which are important. So that's where I stand with it.
May I just throw in my 2 cents?
I'd like you to actually give us your opinion.
Yeah. I support the project. I think it's a really good use for that space, which is such an eyesore. And I think that the addition of a sit-down restaurant and a hotel to Greenfield's mix is a very good one. And I agree with the issues that you guys have brought up. Those are definite concerns, but I guess for me, the big concern is the traffic coming out of the parking lot and onto Route 2, or coming off Minor Street and onto Route 2. And it's beyond me, though, to figure out what a solution is for that. But especially given the volume of traffic that's on Route 2 today. And I had an interesting conversation in the restroom with the gentleman who lives right there. And what I said to him to start it was, it really seems to me that in the last 2 years, the traffic on 2A between the Rotary and Dunkin' Donuts has increased dramatically.
Yes.
It really has. And the only explanation that makes any sense is it's because of what's happened on the other side of the road. But because of that dramatic increase in traffic, this stretch now is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be just really difficult to get through. And maybe it's something that Department DOT needs to be thinking about how to solve that, because this is the zoning board. It's beyond our powers to come up with a viable solution, I'm afraid.
It's ironic because if we let people turn right onto Minor Street, then that turn becomes the shortcut to get into town, because basically down Minor Street, you make a right, you go to that traffic light, which is a light, you make a left and go into town. And that would, once people get the knack of that, they'll stop trying to pull out, because it would be frustrating as it is to pull out either on Minor Street or the driveway. So, that's.
You kind of wonder, like, the lesser two evils, right? Is it better to leave the right turn there and relieve some of the pressure on the? I
actually think this time I would not I would not put a left turn only on Minor Street, even though I know the neighbors aren't happy about that. I think they have to. I mean this in the nicest way I can. The zoning predicts this type of situation. I don't know who's here from the neighborhood. It predicts this kind of situation. Minor Street, because the Mohawk was torn down, kind of has had the luxury of not that much traffic just because nothing has been developed there. But the zoning always anticipated that that street was going to be used. And I'm sorry to say, especially that the bridge is out, more and more people have to kind of find their way around in that particular neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I would say that the lesser of two evils is to allow a right turn on Minor Street because people will begin to figure out, especially if you stay. So you're staying at the hotel, you figure out that if I make a right and a right, I can get into town. And
Yeah, people staying in the hotel for the most part, I believe, will be out of town. So
yeah, but what if they go into town? I don't want them to be sitting there I don't want them to have to always go to Route 2A to get into town because then they'll never go into town. They'll all say, the heck with it, and they'll just make a right and go to Northampton or go up to Shelburne Falls. I'd rather that they did try to get into town any way that they could.
Right, that.
But they're not going to know that turning right on Minor Street will get them into town.
Oh, yes, they will.
Not if they're out of
You
town.
got one of
Oh,
these things.
all you gotta do is.
That, I suppose.
People's Point, how do I get there?
Yeah.
That's my first, so anyway, we digress.
I was
So
driving to Boston today, so I know all about
So
this.
I would not vote for a left turn only on Minor Street
I
for
would.
the reasons that I just
Yeah,
articulated.
I get along.
And so the question is, do we still need to impose a condition on a left turn no left turn out of the hotel? And again, it's not because I'm trying to be an enforcer of anything. It's more the safety of people driving on Route 2A East and having a car come out, especially in the darker days, where you're not really paying that much attention to that happening. So that's the only thing I'm left with in terms of, talk me out of it, but.
What about the exit from the parking lot of the restaurant?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, I thought.
We can't condition Minor Street, but we can condition the restaurant.
Yeah,
But how would we do that functionally?
That's a good.
You know,
question.
people are going to do what they do. I think it's going to be self-regulating. I think people are going to come to that intersection, and if it's really crazy, they're just going to go around the Rotary, or they're going to go around Minor Street, or they're going to go out of the Minor Street exit to begin with.
You know, again, it's a me world today. So if somebody wants to get out there, they're going to say, you know what, to everybody on the road, they're just going to pull out. You're all going to have to slam on your brakes and let them in because they've sat there for 10 minutes. So maybe people would do it anyway, even if there was a sign. So maybe that's the better answer. So maybe my considering regulating that is really kind of a false hope. So, but I do think the Minor Street is important not to.
Yeah,
Sorry about that if you're still watching from the hood, but
I
I can't help but say that
Yeah.
people need to be able to do that. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really articulate that I'm fully in support of this project as well. And I think it's hard to balance all the forces that came together to make this site plan what it is. I think there's been parking within the setback for ever since the Hojo days.
Right.
And I think it's been 10 years since somebody came before us with a viable plan, and it's a blighted parking lot. So I think it's a win.
So maybe we could end it at this note now. And Ellen and I will put together a list of what we see are the conditions that we spoke about. We'll give Deb a chance to weigh in at the next meeting. We'll give them a chance to respond to some of our questions. And we can make it a deliberation that finalizes things between now and then.
Sounds good.
sounds good.
So I'd like to then hear a motion. First, to be courteous, anybody from the applicant side have anything that, having heard what we said, is there something you would like to add to our discussion?
Just wanted to add that because the driveway is on Mohawk, ultimately it's the jurisdiction of the DOT. So any turn restrictions there would ultimately be their call. So even if you guys said, we think lefts in this driveway are great, if the DOT says no, they're going to tell us no. So they're going to review it.
We're not as powerful as we think.
I'm just saying it's their jurisdiction. I've had situations where, boards have put in conditions and then the DOT says that we're not in agreement with that. And it's ultimately, whatever access occurs there, it's the DOT that's going to give us the permit in there. Even if you guys give us full access, for instance, if they came back and said, we don't like it, they're gonna make the call because they were.
Ella, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a factual question about that. So even if the condition were on property within the city of Greenfield, so on the 125 Mohawk, if people leaving that property can't take a left onto Mohawk Trail, MassDOT could say, no, you can't implement that condition?
MassDOT would ultimately tell us what that access is gonna allow, so.
They can further restrict the access, but can they permit more access than our ZBA did from our property onto?
Let me help you. Here's an example. What if we asked you to design just a right turn only on your property? Why couldn't we do that?
Right.
Right turn only onto.
Yeah, we make the design so that you couldn't make it, the only way that you would leave on that cutout is a right turn. You
Right.
couldn't, and that would be on your property that we have jurisdiction over.
Right, and they could look at that and say, so this puts all the traffic onto Minor Street, we recognize that Minor Street's stacked up today. We don't support that restriction, we don't.
I see. So they would have to have, they couldn't just say, we don't like the idea. They'd have to support it with some reason that we are imposing a condition that they don't think is safe for from their point of view. So that's different than what you said, but I understand what you mean, that we're not at the end just because we do it. But if they're neutral about it, we could do it.
Correct, yeah, but they have a stance on what they want.
I know, but if they took the position that we don't care, it's on it's on your property, that's up to you guys.
Yeah.
We could, you agree we could impose that condition?
Correct.
Okay. And I think that's what you were alluding to. Anything else?
Can you just summarize for the next meeting what you'd like to see? The ADA pathway from the hotel out to Route 2 is one.
All right, number one, we want to see a final decision from the Concom.
Okay.
Second, I would like to see a screening plan specifically for the parking spaces. The headlights will face the both streets. So you said you would give us more specific vegetation.
Yep.
The ADA compliant path is, you just mentioned that. That's something that you wanted to look into. We understand that your relationship with DOT is one condition post permitting that you have to comply with. The blackout screen, you're already saying that that's okay, so you can just confirm that in case you change your mind. The 8-foot fence, you're already saying that you would comply, so I'll take that as being something that's already been met. Anything else, Ella, or anybody that I may have forgotten?
Bike racks, locating bike
For
racks.
bike racks, they said, okay, but again, that's a,
Like to see where they're located.
I mean, what you could do is you can go further by showing us, I think you just said what the design might look like.
And we'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have a pedestrian walkway, between the, and pedestrian between the hotel and the, right.
Mr. Chair, may I ask?
Yeah.
It sounds like one outstanding question is what to do about the driveway.
Yes.
So is there any kind of analysis that we would want to inform that decision?
Well, we've already been told that we could run up against DOT. Our analysis in terms of hiring an expert to tell us their opinion is about what, give me an example of something we would need besides our common sense.
A design of how to implement that and a study of the traffic effects.
Well, that's when you impose that condition, it sounds like that wasn't on the original plan, right?
I don't think it was.
So do you remember how you dealt with it? Did you just put it in as a condition and then you kind of drew like a pencil line on the plan and everybody said that was okay? Or are there?
I can't remember if they resubmitted or not.
Yeah, there also might be, if we were going to do that, even if DOT were to be neutral, there might be certain, I think what Ella's saying is there might be certain guidelines as to how the arc, how it would be engineered.
It'll be engineered, yeah.
Yeah. Are there guidelines that we could just say, according to these guidelines, or would we have to cause them or someone that we wanted to ask
Is this for the turn off of?
out of the restaurant onto Route 2A, forcing the project to have a curve to the right so that that people can't do anything but go right.
Yes, that would be an engineered.
But is it according to guidelines that are out there in the world? And
Yeah, of course, they're out there, their guidelines that tell you what the geometry of the curve has to be and what the turning radius is and all that, yeah.
so we could just say it has to follow that. We don't need to have different opinion. There aren't different opinions about how that would be designed.
No,
But you would need to allow the right-hand turn from 2A into,
so that's why it doesn't work, yeah.
well, that's where it gets complicated.
Oh, yeah.
I think
I didn't even think of that. Yes, you're right.
more analysis would be
You
needed.
can't do it that way.
Okay. Amen. Okay. Thank you.
No, well, unless they had a second curb cut,
Yeah, but that's also,
but
that's
that's
I think-
never gonna happen.
well, I think we're imposing a lot on the project just to solve a problem that we've already decided is kind of on the 50-yard line anyway.
And it's really the DOT's problem ultimately.
Right.
I guess, again, no. Okay. So Ella, no, I don't think we do. Thank you for the question. Good thinking. All right, anything else? Have I asked for a motion? Oh, I need a motion to continue this, the deliberation. And the hearing has been closed, to continue the deliberation until our next meeting on September 10th.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show it was unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Nice to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Nice job. Nice job. Did you turn the?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because I just saw.
You heard a motion to adjourn.
Yeah. But
Listen,
Turn it back
and our
on.
hearts are
Yes,
all
I
there.
just turned it back on.
Oh, is that why you made that noise?
Adjourned in my heart.
Yeah, I made a
that
mistake and
noise.
turned it off.
I thought you wanted to not do the discussion.
No.
All right, so it appears that the legislature has made changes
It's totally.
to the zoning in our Mass General laws. I've actually already put that little packet into my book, which raises another question that we might need these books because zoning has changed, so we might need a whole book for everybody. But
Yeah,
let's
okay.
wait till there
Mhm.
you go, because you're busy changing the zoning every. She wakes up every morning. How can I change this? But you can go over with us what changes have been made, and they're important. And I'll just preface by saying we were stuck a couple of times over the last couple of years, and I don't know if you guys were involved, but we certainly were, where people came to ask for variances, and we took the position that it's really not really, there's nothing we could do. The law's pretty strict, and sorry, you have to legislate changes in the ordinance. But now with a different standard on the variance, we have more room to justify granting variance, which is a good thing. So it kind of took, it's taken on a more 21st century look at development. So have you all had a chance to read what she sent?
Just this table here.
Okay, not any, not the.
I've read some other stuff. Oh, you
Yeah,
said
Ella
something
sent some
specific
things.
to this?
So all the changes, yes, she sent
Is it in the
it.
meeting packet?
Well,
No,
he's talking about this.
Yeah, he's got a handy dandy summary here.
I believe, like 2 weeks ago.
Why don't you read it? Would that be okay?
Sure. Did you not get that? I'm sorry. So there were two items. One was prepared by a colleague in another municipality in Massachusetts to try to translate. And then the other was prepared by a law firm. So the state amended chapter 40A, which is the enabling language for zoning code, and establishes standards for special permits and variances that every municipality then needs to follow. So they made a few changes. So one was now we can use.
This is the chart. You want to look at it with me?
I think I actually got some of this off the planner's listserv. I just don't recall getting a specific email from you about it, but
Yeah, that's what you
Thank you.
Just
That
so-
should be on the listserv.
This is Andy.
Okay, I might go in a different order, but yeah, so residential use variations, there's a different, level of scrutiny for whether to grant use variances. So whether residential uses should be permitted where they aren't permitted. So instead of a substantial hardship, it's now practical difficulty that the applicant would have to prove. There's, I totally forgot this.
Anytime you want me to help you, let me know.
Yeah, I would love to. I completely forgot about this agenda.
Is it okay if I review it?
Sure, yeah.
So, if you know the test has been loosened. So instead of substantial hardship, practical difficulty, as Ella said, instead of literal enforcement of the bylaw, strict enforcement of the bylaw. So you can play with those words a little bit more in granting a variance.
It's very
Or
subtle,
denying.
So
very subtle between strict and literal.
well, that may be one of them, but certainly practical difficulty with substantial hardship
That's
is a
huge.
much big, it's a
That's
big drop.
Yeah.
Relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. So you can always think of a reason, you can, what they're trying to say is a board could always deny a variance request by just going to these reasons. And, they're strong, so it's hard to overcome them. But now they're asking the board to weigh the benefits of public interest versus the detriments to public health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. So now it's a balancing test. Even though this sounds like a balancing test, it's really saying you have to overcome that you have to prove it's not a substantial detriment to the public good. So that means that the burden is on you to prove that. Here, the new law says that you can actually take things and balance them one against the other. So we'd have more of an opportunity to grant a variance, or an applicant would have more of an opportunity to convince us to grant a variance by having us weigh and balance these interests against their own need to have this done. And so that's kind of the test that occurs in a special.
That's like a more special permit type of situation.
Right, exactly. So that's what they're doing. The hardship now in a variance has to be, it's crazy, and I've never really understood why, but it has to be related to the soil shape or topography. So basically, if you have a screwy looking lot and there's a big ledge where you gain access and you want to get a variance for an easement over your neighbor's property, you'd have to show that the land is so set up in such a way that it's impossible for me to do anything but overcome, and you don't allow easements over other people's property.
That was the cell phone tower thing.
Yeah, so now it's practical difficulty. So again, a lower standard. Let's look at the cell tower. A lot of these would have, we were able to grant a variance, but with these considerations, we would have had even an easier time granting a variance under those circumstances. No special consideration.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Because it's easier, does that mean that the variance, that the applicant is more likely to get it allowed, where in the past they wouldn't?
No, I think it goes to the judicial review. So let's say we're in a position where we want to grant a variance, and there's people that don't want us to grant the variance. Under the old standard, it would be very difficult for us to sustain our position in the court of law.
Okay.
But now, if the neighbors were talking about one side of the variance, and we could show that, and the applicant could show the other side, and we could give a credible reason why they're 51 and they're 49, I think the court of law now would understand that what we were doing was within the new standards.
Okay.
It just, even if we wanted to grant variances, we were always, if you grant a variance and 20 days go by and nobody appealed it, then it's allowed, even if you did it wrongly. But but that wasn't the way I wanted to do business. I wanted to do business that we did it the right way, and if somebody appealed it, then they had a right to say that we did it wrong. Now it would
Last
be,
year, wasn't there was some stuff about just some shed and stuff.
Remember there was
stuff that it was like, this is so not
Yeah,
gonna hurt anybody,
right.
and we couldn't do it. We couldn't
do it because the literal these literal ways of defining how you could grant one were very difficult.
And wasn't it even that there was something about just kind of like the cost of it? but it was still like, it wasn't a substantial burden or whatever the original
Somebody had
language
a-
was.
they
It's
wanted
kind of
to
like, we
put a
can't
building in
do
the
it, even though we all
backyard.
want to.
They wanted to move a building in the backyard and they couldn't
Want to
move the
replace a
setback.
shed.
Right, they want to place a shed.
And we
they
couldn't do
it.
Yeah.
Which goes to the next one. So no special consideration for housing. So you couldn't say, hey, we have a public policy now that we want to start granting variances for housing. So special consideration can be made for housing. So let's say somebody wants a variance for a setback, right?
Yeah, or lot width, or frontage.
Right, exactly. And again, I'm not saying we're going to just grant these things willy-nilly, but all things being equal, right? We're like, oh my God, what are we going to do here? Housing would be, that 1%.
Eric, is your question more along the lines of, does this somehow push us into a corner of having to grant variances that the board is not inclined to grant? That this loosens things up so much that, because it feels to me
I'm afraid
like
that could happen.
of our
I
own
don't
kind of
believe-
common sense and.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's true.
I don't think that we're gonna box into having to grant variances that we don't think are appropriate.
No.
Right.
A court
It's more
isn't,
freedom, but not like.
a court isn't going to overrule us rejecting a variance if we give good reason for rejecting. It's just that if we allow it, the abutter could go in and say, you're not following these strict rules, and the court would say, yeah, you really shouldn't have granted.
I really think the special permit analogy is the right one. It's almost putting variance into a special permit
It
process.
is. I think you're right. Yes.
Well, which is interesting because Greenfield does have the special permit for a 20% reduction of dimensions. which
Right.
Most other municipalities.
And they did that on
have
purpose.
So it was kind of like
Yeah.
allowing for what would otherwise be a variance.
Right, because we've been granted variance for 1 foot beyond the
Right.
setback, right? And they gave us 20%.
Yeah.
Which helped us to just say, yeah, why not, right? Now we could even go further if we felt that the circumstances weren't.
Right.
Again, carefully, but we could.
Mhm. Mhm.
The variances were only good for 1 year. Now they're good for 2 years with a 2-year extension. Use variances are not allowed unless local zoning allows them. That's a biggie. That was always the case.
Yeah.
Now they could be allowed are allowed for housing, even if local zoning does not allow them. So that's one area where they're taking it out of our hands. I don't know exactly how that's going.
Where's that one? I didn't see that one. Use
It's right in the middle of the page, it says use.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I don't like it, we have industrial or commercials districts that do not allow housing. So does that mean that somebody's going to come in and say, well, this just changed, I want to, even though you haven't legislated housing in this area, I want a variance for a single family or a.
Yeah, but there may be instances where it's appropriate. There may be instances where it isn't. That's when we have the ability to deliberate that.
I think the way it's written here means that it's allowed, so we don't have to worry about whether it's allowed or not, but I think, I would think it's still within our discretion, so. I will take that position now, if you find out something different.
A use variance is allowed.
It's allowed, but
It can
it's
be considered.
considered, but it's not
Right.
something we have to
We're
allow.
not
No.
Right.
It got through the process.
Notice by mail, notice by email. I think there's still practical problems with everybody is not online, but at least we're moving into the 21st century. I'll go down to nonconformities, extension or construction on a pre-existing lot. So this is very esoteric. So if you want to alter a structure that for some reason is no longer allowed to be built by right, you would have had to come for a special permit because you'd have to claim that it was grandfathered. Now I want to alter that grandfathering by extending it. So there's a sentence in 48 section 3 that says you have to come before the board. Now it's saying that as long as you're not imposing on the any dimensional limits, which I guess.
That's not clear because what if you're within the front yard setback and you want to add on?
But you can't go deeper into the front yard setback.
But you could add a rear deck. As long as the rear deck's not in the rear
I
yard.
don't know under what
Was this
circumstance.
like that though, wasn't it? You could always add on to an existing nonconformity as long as you weren't making the nonconformity worse.
Correct. But there might be situations where that would be an impediment and now it's not. As long as it doesn't interfere with setbacks or things that are clear dimensional. I don't understand, because if the lot's too small and it used to be if the lot was too small and you want to expand on a lot that now is a non-conforming size, you need to come to the zoning board because your lot was not
That's
conforming.
BS lots.
Lot's not conforming, so you have to ask for permission.
Right, so you could be in a non-conforming lot based on its size, but as long as you're within the prescribed setbacks.
Guess, although that's how I read it, but
My garage is right on the property line because it was built before zoning. So if I wanted to make a change to the garage, it's a non-conforming lot.
no, let's say today, your house is on a half acre lot. Let's say today you can't build a house unless it's an acre.
Oh,
Now you want to expand your house. Well, you don't have the acre lot to expand your house because you're only grandfathered to the footprint of your property. So you'd have to come to us and say, to the board and say, I want to expand a pre-existing non-conforming use. And the test would be, will it materially change today the residential expansion is already liberal. Now they're making it even more liberal. So it's not, I don't even want to think of an example.
so much of this is oriented toward expanding housing.
Exactly.
Right, which is good.
Let's see. So there are other arcane rules about combining lots and how lots have to, if you're combining lots in common ownership, you can lose the grandfathering of the lots. There's like a 7-year freeze, but maybe now that freeze is forever if the lots are non-conforming and you want to merge them. I haven't thought through all I think Ella actually gave us examples. So if you wanted to use if you wanted to look at her example sheet, current minimums are, guy wants to build an addition, right? Okay, so that's easy. All right, she didn't give really an example of that one, but let's just say that that's a change. It'll come before us and we'll now know that the laws have changed. But the most important one was that the person that
We'll have to navigate.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
there's a question about a zoning freeze, which is very important because the person that Ellie used had written that it was they received a non-conforming use elevation, and that's not true. What happens is that the sequence of events before this change, as soon as notice was given anywhere in the city that zoning was going to change, that notice date meant that if the zoning actually changed based on the notice, so you had to wait out the process, the retroactivity of the zoning change went all the way back to the date that the zoning first was published in the newspaper that there was going to be a change. So anybody coming into the process after that date was vulnerable to the zoning change occurring, and their application would be defeated because it would be considered to have been too late.
But who's the zoning change not in their favor?
Correct. Now, if you're smart enough and you make application before the vote on the zoning change. So now that it used to be the date in which the public noticed, if the zoning never got enacted, you were safe. But if the zoning got enacted, it could take 6 months, go all the way back to the date. And so here you are, you don't know anything's going on. A notice goes in the newspaper that zoning's going to change. You're out of luck because it goes all the way back. So you can't file an application because if the application is for the old zoning and it changes, it goes back before your application. Right. So they're saying, if you see that happen, if you see the notice of publication of a zoning change and you run in and make application to do something on your property that is concurrent with the old zoning, the zoning that's about to be changed, there's a zoning freeze on your application. So you get to go to the board under the zoning in place at the time of your application, not the zoning that will subsequently be changed.
And you have to work with the existing zoning, not what you
We
think
would have to take your application under the old zoning, not the new zoning. So it gives you a chance to run in for the planning board and actually before the city council decides.
Before the city council votes.
Before the city council votes, and you can make application and the board. So that's the reason it's not a conforming use is if that application is rejected for another reason, you lose the freeze. You don't just get the zoning change. You're not grandfathered. It's the freeze gives you the chance to get. So you have to be careful submitting a proper application. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Does that make sense? Yep. All right. approval of minutes. Are there minutes?
From the last meeting?
Yeah.
Was that not sure? Sorry.
Just, I think there was a very,
Please.
that was a fast one, wasn't it? You can-
I'm feeling this way.
Okay, you were on. Oh, yeah. Right.
It's a little easier.
Yeah, we didn't do anything except continue the case, so. May I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye, maybe.
Let the record show is unanimous. Anything else to discuss? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. Yes.
Favorite motion. No. But.
We've never done union negotiations at the school committee down hell because I went to 4 o'clock in the morning for
Yes.
that as a public service.